What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Midday Show. Today we have a special lesson, but before we get to that, that is your girl Adara. I'm Sharif, and we are brought to you by Search Trader. Account funding of up to $1 million. Keep up to 90% of the profit. Enjoy relaxed trading rules with an 8% max trailing drawdown on all new accounts. Shout out to the folks there at Search Trader, who, by the way, have extended their trading contest into the month of January. So that's 3 months in a row now, November, December, and January, where you can audition with 100,000 fake dollars to win 1,000 real dollars. So give them a checkout if you are interested. Good morning, Adara.
Good morning.
How's
How are
everything?
you? Things are
Merry
good.
Christmas. I hope you enjoyed your time. You went home.
I did, yeah. I went back to Winnipeg, which is why my throat is doing things. I talked a lot, you know what I mean? Lots of social
I feel like
activities.
you did more than talking. You must have been like quite like boisterous for your voice to be like this
Yeah,
far
that's
gone.
fair. I mean, like I feel like I was kind of feeling it like a little bit too, like when I got in, and then I overslept last night as well, which is like always a weirdly bad for my voice. I don't know why, but yeah, good times. Happy to be here. How was your holidays and Christmas?
It was good. It was good. Yeah, like I'm Orthodox, so we do our Christmas January 7th, like with a lot of the Russians and Eastern Europeans and stuff. So we always kick it back a notch. But I love doing it on the 25th as well. And I loved it as a kid because I got 2 Christmases, which meant I missed more school, so I was all about that life.
Why not have a second one?
Right, why not,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, it's just a calendar. It's really no difference with respect to belief. All right, guys, today we don't have a technical analysis lesson. However, the man, the myth, the legend, Alfred, my friend Alfred, will be in the house at 12 o'clock. He's going to be meeting me at the big desk there, and we are going to be talking about the ABCs of fundamental analysis, how to kind of build up your long-term portfolio. He's going to be talking about that, kind of just wetting your beak a little bit with respect to information there. Tomorrow he's going to be coming again and talking more specifically about value investing, something that we hear a lot about coming from the likes of Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, rest in peace, all value investors, and there's many more value investors as well. Alfred is a disciple of those individuals, studied their methodology, and will be coming to talk a little bit about that. So make sure to check us out at the big desk today, 12 o'clock today, 12 o'clock tomorrow. My man Alfred will be in the house in studio, and we're going to be talking about how to build some of that longer-term portfolio.
I like that.
Portfolio, yes. All right, let me tell you about the trade that I'm in at the moment. This was prefaced earlier by Neil. ARB is up 300 some odd percent. I think it was like 350 at its high. It's doing the dance with no pants here at 4. We're long at 379. Already a few beak wetters into that 415-ish area. The next one at that 4.25, but it's got to hold this 4 air. What I do like about this trade is a series of higher lows holding the trend there above VWAP, above the pre-market high. So all the check marks with respect to small cap crappers, all of them being checked off. Now it's just got to go in the right direction. Seems like we've been getting a lot of small cap gappers as of late. Started last week when we had that one, I forget, I think it was LO, ran to 600%. Was it LO?
I know there's POL.
POL.
So we kept joking like
That's
pole
it.
vaulting. Yeah,
Pole,
dancing,
yes,
yeah.
you're right. POL, not LO, ran to 700 some odd percent. The days following that, subsequent to that, we had several 100% plus runners, and today looks like there's no different. We got a couple as well. One of them is a buyout, so it doesn't really count. We'll talk about more about those in the coming little bit. Let's bring in the side chart though, and talk a little bit about what I've been watching in small cap world. You saw the big kahunas. They were all over the big caps this morning, so we'll talk a little small caps here. ARB I'll get to in a second. The other one, though, that's on my radar, SGHT, 45%. The chart looking fantastic, above VWAP, above the pre-market high, SGHT. Let me just tell you a little bit of the details on this one. Sight Sciences, what do they do? Ophthalmic medical device company, focus on the development and commercialization of surgical and non-surgical technology. Sounds noble. I like. 38 million share float, larger than the one we typically like trading for these small cap gappers, but by no means huge, 38.1 million. With respect to ARB, I didn't mention the float on ARB. Let me tell you about that one real quick. It's a $104 million market cap, 1.4 million share float on ARBB. Needless to say, that is microcap and obviously very volatile. As you have seen, it's already halted once to the high side today. Again, doing the dance here with $4. That is ARB. The other one that was really aggressive in the pre-market but has been selling off since, IINN. I didn't see a catalyst on this bad boy earlier. Maybe there is one now. IINN. Let's talk a little bit about the deets on that. Inspira Technologies, $21 million market cap, 8.3 million share float. Small, not as small as ARB, obviously, but small nonetheless. Inspira, what the hell do they do? They're specialty medical device companies based in Israel, so good luck for them on the day. And are they? Yeah. Inspira. Here we go. Here's the headline. Inspira Technology shares trading higher after the company announced a 95% accurate results for the HILA blood sensor. Not really sure I understand any of that except blood sensor, really. I'm not sure what HYLA stands for, but I guess that's really not that important. Those are the four that I'm watching. I was also looking at BACK back, but that's kind of giving back. Oh my God, come on. I should have left that for you. I really should have left that because you would have been all over that in a second.
Yeah, but
right?
You know what? I like that you did it too. Like, I'm not like the type of person where like no one else can pun. Like, I just appreciate a good pun, so I really appreciate
I know
that.
you do. And I gotta tell you, your voice is very, very funny right now. I mean, I don't mean to make fun of you, but you're really struggling there. Nick Dub, what's up, my man? Big Nick Dub, $5 super chat. Been crushing it on MTTR with the analysis I had and really appreciated your analysis this past week. Thank you, Nick Dub. Let's check out MTTR. I haven't been looking at that bad boy today. Let's bring in the trusty side charts and load up that bad boy. What has this one been doing here? MTTR. That is okay. Matterport. Remember this one from last week. Not a bad look. Again, good looking chart on the day. MTTR. Let's load up the percentage up on the day because the chart malfunctions as per usual. All right, 4.5%, 1 million shares done on the day. But I think, pardon me? Oh yeah, no worries. I think this one's been a multi-day runner, and yeah, that's what Nick Dub is talking about. This one was running basically all of December, really kind of getting off that $2 base that it was at, and we're knocking the door of $3 today, again with a $2.99 high on Matterport, MTTR. Good look, Nick Dub. Like, I don't have much to say on this, obviously, but, you know, being that we are on the door of $3, expect resistance there, which looks like we already encountered a bit of a double top there at the 299 coming into VWAP. The notional range on the stock is quite small. We have a 282 close on Friday with a 284 low today and a 299 high. So you're going to really have to load up on that shareage in order to print on this. But it looks like Nick Dub is doing that, so shout out to him. Hope you continue to print, brother, on these small cap gappers. Back to ARB as we do the dance with no pants at $4. You know, kind of expected that. We had quite an aggressive break through 4 earlier on at around 1 to 10 there. So 10 o'clock essentially we flew up into that $4.50 area, and then we kind of gave up the ghost there. We held above VWAP and we started putting in these higher lows. So that's what kind of got me interested in it, that it was holding up above the volume weighted average price, that buyers incrementally were overwhelming sellers on every different trough, and we've already got three beak wetters through this level. We got the 4th here at the $0.25. We'll see if it makes its way up there. But if this one starts squeezing, it could squeeze, baby. We know it's sub 2 million share float. It's already up 300% on a day where there's not going to be that much else to trade. So hopefully a lot of the eyes start coming onto this bad boy and we start squeezing to the high side, but we'll have to wait and see. Adara.
Yeah, so I got into a little baby neo long here. Not very many shares. What makes me a skosh nervous about this is, yeah, it's kind of near the high of day, but I think like I just have really tight risk parameters on this. If we break below that 920, which would be lower low, I am outie. But I kind of like that we're seeing a little bit of consolidation at this higher area. We have generally seen also throughout the day these higher lows. We also have some catalysts with Neo with regards to the the registration for new vehicle registrations in China. Those came out this morning. We also have my new favorite car, the ET9.
You like it?
I really like the ET9.
It's not a bad look, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this guy out. So on the NIO website, here's the beautiful ET9. What I like about the ET9 is they have like the little, this divider thingy. So you have, it's like a 4-seater and everyone has their own little space.
It's like a Maybach.
Yeah.
Where you're like in the back of the Maybach, you got your tray, you got your wine glasses, it's all good.
Right, and it's like for like, they're like, oh, it's the executive suite. I don't know, I don't mind it, I have to say. But yeah, that's obviously not why I'm in this trade. It's a nice thing in addition to this trade. But yeah, that's kind of why NIO is buzzing the way it is.
Buzzing.
But yeah, we'll see if we get to 10%. This could get interesting. I'll probably take out stuff if we break this high of 928. I'm gonna keep an eye on this. That's kind of how it's shaken as of right now. But yeah, hopefully we do not make that lower low. Like I said, pretty low risk reward, still in the sim, still earning. Here we are.
Sounds good. ARB is absolutely pumping to the high side. We just got the beak witter there through the 4.25. Look, we're looking for that high a day touch, and till now it's 454. But we haven't broken through that 4.5. We just got high there on this 5-minute wick, pardon me. 430, we got the beak witter around there. Now we're waiting at 440 for the next print there, taking out incremental size as we move up, but we're definitely looking for the break of the high. Now, I mean, this looks even better on the 5 than it does on the 1, quite frankly. I love these type of patterns. You get the bull flag-ish kind of look, and then you have a move down, hopefully to some sort of support level, not just a random error. It looks like it held up here at the $0.50 higher low, higher low, higher low, all throughout, holding that green line, which you know on my chart is going to be the 10 EMA, and it's holding it to a T. So, and then you've got the higher highs too, not the major higher high, but the local higher high, because you're incrementally making higher highs on this kind of move back up here. Obviously the higher lows goes without saying. So I'm liking ARB on the day. I'm just hoping not to get bamboozled. Initially when I got into this bad boy, I got in long at, I'll just tell you as we update the position board, $3.80, okay? And the break of this level over here at 338, that's where I had my stop. So if it was gonna break through the descent low over here on this big move up, this big move down, 338, that's where I was gonna end the trade. It was just too far away from VWAP for me to use VWAP as the level of support. It didn't really touch VWAP. So as much as, you know, VWAP often plays a role in these small cap gappers, as much as it didn't play a role in this particular one, at least after the bell. Maybe in the pre, it was holding VWAP as a consolidation range after this big move up here at 640. But after the bell, it hasn't made a presence. I'm talking about VWAP. And hence I didn't get involved. All right, so still holding this. We're at that 4.25, 4 1/5 Sedera. We are where I'm seeing what I need to see, which is higher highs and higher lows. So there's no reason for me to paper hand this trade and to take everything out here. I am looking for the next beak wetter around that $4.40 area. We'll see what we kind of get. What's up, Big Kyle Burdett, baby? Got stopped out. We'll look to repeat an attempt in the same area. I'm assuming he talked to me about something. Yeah, he says got short ES 4820. I haven't even looked at the future yet. Failed breakout prior day rejection area. He's referring to 4820. He had a 4818 stop, 4808 target if gold flush, and then it looks like he stopped out of that bad boy and looking possibly to get back in. Hold my beer. Sharif, sorry if I misspelled your name. I misspell my name sometimes. Me and spell check have issues. No worries, man. Hold my beer. Did you tag me with something earlier? Because I didn't quite see it. So tag me again, and then I'll be on the lookout for it, my man. But thank you for the tag. And there goes ARB. Ooh. Here comes into that $4.40 area. We didn't get the beak wetter yet, but ARB is pumping to the high side now, 350%, looking to take that 4.5. We've been talking about that 4.5. Here we go. 440s coming in possibly. We'll have to wait for that cross. Looks like there is some size here at the 40 level. Yeah, there we go. We got the beak wetter there. So ARB continuing to pump to the high side. Where do we find the top on ARBB? We'll have to wait. We're just a smidge below Adara, the day's high at the moment.
Yeah, that's quite the look on ARB. Oh my gosh. Yeah, still looking at NEO. We are getting close. I'm still in this one. We're getting close to the bottom here of the range I'm comfortable with. Like I said, if we make a new low, I will be out. But we do, like, we were pretty strong around this 1919 area before we moved back to the upside. So I'm gonna give it a couple seconds here. I'm gonna give it some time. We'll see how NEO continues to drive up. This double top does make me a skosh nervous, though, I do have to say. Other names I'm looking at, some chip names as well. We have ARM, not really strong arming the market, I have to say. Not right now anyway, but we did have a price target increase for ARM from Rosenblatt this morning. So yeah, I like this look here. Maybe for a short if we don't kind of break above this 73.50, because this has very much been a consolidated top. My other thing though is this could be an ascending wedge, because we did have, you know, slightly higher lows. We have a flat top, so I don't want to make any decisions until I see what. Yeah, we'll see if it, you know, try to do some arm workouts here, see if it goes above here. The point is, I'm going to keep an eye on what it does at the 73.50. I see this to be kind of pivotal. Oh yeah, I'm seeing some message in the chat as well. I am not sick. My throat is just doing things because I overused it over the weekend. So that's the deal with my throat. Yeah, NVIDIA also hanging out around VWAP in a way that I find a skosh intriguing, just a skosh. But yeah, we had this kind of what looks like it could have been a bull pennant. And this is why, like, you know, don't get involved in things until you see the pattern go through, because we very much swooped to the downside from that point. We held up really well around that 492.25, and then now we're kind of skirting around VWAP. But I like, this is another one I want to see what we do at key levels. If we break above this 49, where is this, 49, 494.50, and then break higher, that would be a very nice time. If we break lower, for long, I mean, if we break lower, could be a short. I think this, what we do around VWAP will be of interest for me.
All right, ARB just absolutely flushed south of that $4. This is why these stocks are what they are. They're small cap crappers, because they poop the bed. At any given time and at any given moment, if they are displeased with whatever, no, I'm joking here, obviously. Clearly, there was a big boy seller who came in, or a person with a large account who just initiated a short was able to maneuver this one almost 50 pennies. This was at 430 when this start flush came in, and it came down all the way into 383. So it just, you're able to take out all these levels with one order. Go back and have a look at the time and sales if you're able to look back. It's essentially one order coming through at the same time, being filled on multiple gateways, but we'll see if we can buy up our way above 4. Looks like buyers are stepping in here to buoy this one above 4. This could be a specialist breakdown or a specialist. I talked a little bit about this last week where a person with a large account obviously looks to manipulate it, get people offside, and then have it run the other way only to profit from the misery of others. And that's really, you know, what this short-term trading is kind of a lot about on the small cap gapper. So big move down, de-risking, looking for that eventual move up. It'll have to show me a lower low for me to be convinced that this trade is no longer valid. I'm going to be looking for that 370, 365-ish area to hold. If it breaks down through that area, we're going to have to call it quits on this name and take about, I think it'll be 20 pennies at that point. Still 8 pennies in the money, but we're definitely watching this one to see if it's able to hold 80 pennies and hold that 370 area. We'll have to wait and see. It's coming down aggressively now, keeping an eye on ARB. Who's asking me something here with respect to a different stock? Yeah, I'll have to get to that in a second. Boris, Sharif, you need to step up, and in all caps, by the way, in all caps. Sharif, you need to step up and buy a cup of tea with honey for Adara. I brought her one, man.
He did.
I did. I actually brought her one earlier, and it has a little French bulldog. I think that's a full, isn't it?
I think a French bulldog. Yeah.
Probably.
Well, those are the ones you have.
Well, exactly. So that's why I brought it, right?
They look like your
a little
dogs.
Frenchie, and I threw in extra honey and it's green tea, by the way.
And little stir sticks.
Hopefully she can. She's able to recover, but I think she had a great weekend. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. No, it was lots of fun.
There you go. All right, quickly, I want to look at Apple. You saw Neil in Apple earlier today. I kind of feel like this one's setting up to break through that 193. I know Neil was looking for that particular short, but it's kind of flat bottoming here at 193. A lot of buyers stepping into that level. You're getting wicks below 193, sure, but they're really not on any closing basis. What I really like about this, though, is it did attempt a re-break of VWAP here at around 1040, and when the market started curling up, it did break VWAP nicely here, coming into that 193.45-ish area, but there you go. You got an immediate reversal off that, so it looks like the bears are in absolute control of Apple on the day as it reels off the bad news that it can't sell any more of its Apple Watch Ultra 2 or the Apple Watch 9, at least in America, at least until it appeals. Now, this IOC decision, this international, is it IOC? No. Say it again?
ITC.
ITC. International Trade Commission is the decision there is actually appealable to the Federal Court of Appeal. So we'll have to wait and see if Apple gets a stay pending appeal or not, because the Biden administration has refused to invoke the veto. By the way, the last administration to actually invoke a veto overruling the ITC decision was Barack Obama in 2013, and it actually had to do with Apple. It had to do something with the lawsuit that it had with Samsung at the time. People will remember that they actually were going back and forth with Samsung for a period of time, but looks as if they may have to fend for their own here. Now, this is the level I think Neil was talking about earlier, that kind of low that we made at 230 on Friday. We're coming right into that low, and we're getting bought up. But I think it's a bit of a different look this time around. That was a V-shaped recovery, and this time around we're kind of getting in lower high, lower high, lower high with a flat bottom. So this one, I don't know, man. I think if the market goes, I think Apple will be the first to give up the goods here through that 193. It's doing the dance again here at that 193 area, but nothing really to report. I'm just going to pack my patience, wait for a clear breakdown of the name. To me, it was already on my radar for a negative, because we're using these pivot points now. The pivot points are the green dotted lines on my chart. It opened up below the pivot points. So I was already thinking, this was going to be a negative name. Add to that the catalyst on the day, and so you've got a recipe for a bit of a weak name, right? So we'll have to see what we get from Apple now, but looking a little tough here. Quickly, just before I send it back to Dara Arb, below $4, still in the money on this one, but looking for that reclaim of 4. Otherwise, if it breaks below this 375, that'll make it a newer low, and we'll cancel it.
Yeah. I've been looking at Apple as well too, just because of that massive story. Nothing for me yet. What I am waiting to get into is this Meta. That is my, social media or big tech name du jour, I suppose. I'm trying to get in around VWAP. I have placed an order for a Scotia shares. I've never used Scotia that way before, but here we are. Yeah, I don't dislike what's happening here. And the reason I say this is I don't want to go call this a head and shoulders, but we look head and shoulders-esque. It definitely looks bearish, I'll put it that way, in like a reversal. Because look, we got to like this 356.20. Then we went down. Then we got all the way up to this 357. Then we swoop back down and then come back to 356.20. So this tells me that breaking below this area was pretty key. Then when we broke what I would call the neckline, we did swoop to the downside. The thing is, though, I have no interest in chasing this one, because Meta will do what Meta does. And what Meta does is often things that we cannot predict or control. So with that in mind, if I get the fill, I'll be all smiles, hopefully, and if I don't, I'm not going to sit here and complain. Meta has chosen to fly without me, and that is fine. But yeah, here we go. In terms of like where I would get out if this broke to the upside, if this short does follow through, I'd get it at 356, because that would be a higher high, and the 356, 356.20 area has been super key for Meta, so it is an area that I would be paying attention to. I also saw someone mentioning Boeing in the chat, and I'm looking at Boeing as well, just with regards to all of that news with the China orders last week. So this one, it's kind of interesting, because I feel like this could be a big point of decision. This could be not the candle of indecision, but this could be the movement of decision here, because if we break below this 622.45 area decisively, then we are making a lower low. And to me, that says that would be like no if we make a lower low for a long, right? But it also could end up being like a Christmas period retracement as a short. I couldn't find any specific catalyst on this one. For the day, like I said, there is generally that goodwill with all of the news from China last week that they placed an order for some, I want to make sure I have the vehicle right, 787 Dreamliners from Boeing. So that's pretty significant as of last week. Also, apparently CNBC was mentioning it, and there was a spike in volume around 1051, which we can see around here. So that definitely follows through with what we're seeing. And I mean, we're talking about Boeing last week as well. The daily on Boeing is a story of a recovery. This one is, pardon my pun, soaring to the upside, taking some flight here. We are seeing a bit of stagnation though around this 260, 265 area, but nothing too severe. Like, look at this giant recovery to the upside. Generally, Boeing does seem to be a skosh bullish, and I do like the way that we're looking on the day should we bounce back off of that 260, 245.
Yeah, all right. Anytime you need a break, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
Because I know that you're doing your best. But all right, someone who's it? I just want to shout them out. Skybear wants us to look at NEO, saying, you know, that's moving up nicely on the day. Obviously, we know the catalyst with NEO. Let's have a look at NIO and see what it's up to at the moment. Near highs, about 5 pennies off the high a day. Let's put in the ticker here real quick. NIO. All right, so just in case you are joining us wondering what the hell, why is NEO moving the way it's moving? Well, here it is. What's going on? Oh, NEO launched its new ET9 sedan at its 2023 NEO Day on Saturday. The new vehicle is NEO's most expensive offering ever and marks the company's entry into the luxury EV segment. Like Adair was showing you, looks like that back seat's got like, you know, it's a 4-seater. So there's that middle compartment in the back seat there for you to, you know, have wine glasses, maybe a cooler. We'll look at that a little bit later, but they're getting a nice boost up on the day, 8.7%, kind of flipping rolls with Liato. Liato was up 7 some odd percent. Now it's down to 4.19 as now NEO is the one that's up 8 3/4. It's nicely above the moving, the VWAP at that 906 area. We're getting higher lows, higher highs, so the trend really hasn't changed quite yet on this name. You know, personally, I'd be interested in getting it on dips rather than, you know, on a breakout of sorts. Let's go to the half an hour, see when the last time we were up here was. Oh, it's going to be a long time since we've been at this level. $9 was kind of the high that we topped out there December 18th. You got to go to the daily chart to figure out when the last time we were up here was, and that is in September when we had that consolidative area at 10, 10 and a half, even 11. 10 was the kind of the support area that we broke down from back on September 18th, 19th. So we'll be looking for $10 as that key area of resistance. And also on the daily chart too, when you look where the 200 period is, it's at that 9 3/4 area. So we'll have to see if we can break through that 9 3/4 before we get into 10. But 10 definitely on my radar as a level of resistance. To the downside, really, I'd be looking at previous day's highs for areas of support. So look possibly for that $9 area as an interesting area of support. That takes us back into the 20th and the 19th highs at that $8.92, $9 area on NIO. But it's a good look for NEO today. No complaints on this name. As you know, I've been critical of their lineup and their approach in the past, but I got to tell you, they're doing a lot better. It looks like these days, good collaboration with VW, offloading the chassis manufacturer that they were using, kind of helping offload some costs, then taking on the battery component, the company that they were outsourcing batteries from, looks like they bought into them, so kind of bringing that close to home. That's been the big thing with EVs, right? Can they make enough batteries to scale these things out? Like I was just telling, who was I telling? I was telling a friend, my sister's car, it's like a Mercedes hybrid. It's a plug-in hybrid. It's the GLC hybrid version. And something went wrong with the battery there. So it's literally like almost 3 months before they can get a replacement battery all the way from Germany. So it's the battery components that seem to take forever, number one, to source, manufacture, and then if you need to replace them, to replace. So, you know, the major part, what I'm trying to say here is it's the batteries here. So the fact that they brought in battery production in-house, is a good look for them. So we'll have to see how they do up nicely on the day is NIO. Back to this ARB trade. We're still south of $4, but we're really not breaking down. We haven't made any lower lows, so I'm still going to hold this one until it breaks that 375 area. But I've moved up my stop from 340 up into that 375. It breaks down below this level, I will be gone. All right, LBOS. Love your protection over Adara. If you do most of the talking today, Adara will be able to rest her voice. The rest of the week will be easier on her. Hopefully, she can get better quicker. I'm sure you'll probably be medicating and doing your thing over there, right? There you go. All right. I love my gas bends, says Noah. Also thought about the EV versions, but was concerned about the wait times for replacement parts. And your concern is very meritorious, my friend, because basically that's that's really the only reason she's without her car right now. They've obviously given her a loaner, but it's the batteries that seem to take forever to produce and forever to get. So we'll have to wait and see how that ends up panning out. But just some good anecdotal information there. Anything that you guys see in the chart, throw it up in the chat. Dara and I would love to have a look at it for you guys. Michael Kenyon says EVs are a luxury item. People that have EM don't need them. Yeah, all right. Fair point. We'll have to wait and see how EVs do at the moment. Kind of demand for them is waning a little bit as they get more expensive. Nick Dubb says, can you look at IMNM on a daily? Thank you for the $2 super chat there, Nick Dubb. Let's have a look at IMNM. I don't know what this stock is. Let's bring in the trusty side charts and pull up that IMNM. IMNM. What is this stock? Immunum? All right. I'm not familiar with it. What is it up on the day? Let's see right now. It is up 2.25%. The float on this bad boy, it's large, 200 million shares. Market cap, 409 million. Had a good day on Friday, that's for sure. All right, so support obviously is Friday close, which is around that 940 area, so not much to say about that. Look, for today, it's not looking like it's doing much, but you want me to look at the daily. So let's have a look at the daily. Obviously, we're coming in from those high highs during the pandemic, March 2021. We had a really outsized day coming into 90 bucks, but look, that looks like it was a one-off day. That looks like the real support level, resistance level, pardon me, was that $50 area. We've been putting incrementally lower highs and lower lows since that time. But when you look at the more recent trend, at least starting in May of 2022, we're definitely putting in higher lows. So that's a good local trend there, even though the overall larger trend is still negative. And then you got a bit of a positive crossover here. Now you got the 50 crossing above the 200, which we call the golden cross, you recall from our week on indicator. So you have that positive look there. And then they've also fanned apart. They haven't been crossing over each other umpteen amount of times. So the direction of the price action is reflected here by the moving averages. So I would say 10 is a very interesting area. We've been kind of flirting with 10 at times. Back in June, we touched 10 and rejected. Again, back in October, we made an attempt at 9.5 or 9.75. Yeah, 9.5. We rejected. So it looks like this is our best attempt at 10 since June. I like the fact that it's putting in higher lows. I like the fact that incrementally higher highs, but I got to say that break above the 10 would really make me like it a lot better. But good look there, Nick Dubb, on the daily. I have no idea what their fundamentals are, but just technically looks like they are at least getting out of that rut that they were in for a period of time there.
Yeah, that's a very good look. I like that, the breaking above that double top. Also, the crazy stitch lady here in the chat, as one would say, USO, pump it. This reference to Sharif, you're saying pump it. So let's look at US oil, there we go. US oil fund up 3% on the day, and I do like this look on the day, I have to say. Upward channel in the pre-market. Then we got to the pre-market, we fell a little bit, but notably never below this 70-40. We had sort of a bit of a floor here, and then we kind of kept jumping up to this 70 60 area, sort of a flat channel, definitely breaking above that now. Pump it does seem to be the theme for USO right now on the 5-minute. Let's look at the daily here. Yeah, the daily is a little less promising. We did break out of the, kind of above this 68, 69 areas that could be of interest. I would say the next area of interest for USO on the daily at least would have to be above that 74, because that would be a new high. For now though, yeah, just trying to kind of doing its thing, just trucking along over here. I am in a Tesla long, so I should address that. We got into the Cybertruck for a moment here. Metaphorically, of course. Yeah, so what I like about this is we had a bit of a trough and we've had higher lows. Now, we were at one point around 256.65 and then we dipped below that. My profit taker has literally already been set. I'm taking out half of my position at this 256, just before 256.50 or 257.50, sorry, because that was where our high of day was. And so if we are going to continue to make higher highs, I like to usually, when I play dip buys like this, if it's like an upward channel, I usually like to take a little bit out at that when we make that new high or before we make that new high, because the way I think of it is the stock has made this area before. I don't know how much higher it's going to go. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I like to think about that cognitively. My stop loss will be this 256.60, so about 80 cents below where I got in. But we're actually holding this 256.40 quite nicely. Let's wait and see how the cookie crumbles here. I guess how the Cybertruck drives, I don't know. But we're going to wait and see. I do not dislike the look of this. Also, thank the stars I did not get involved in that Meta short, because Meta looks like it has decided that it's going to come back with a vengeance. Hit the double tap button to the upside. We'll see if we break above this 356, because that to me is where this fell earlier. If it falls from there again, who knows? I could be intrigued. I could hit the like button there. I could, really bad analogy, but here we are. NVIDIA also making a stutter step to the upside. That is a little bit of interest to me. Again, this is another one where it seems like there's a sort of key area, at least on the 5-minute, which would be that 494.70, because that is where we had that big move to the downside. Not that much volume on that move down, but still of interest to me. If we break above that, then I think it would be a skosh more bullish. We are still very much up on the day, though, on this one and on Meta, which is why I'm kind of hesitant to short both until I have more, I guess, confluence or confirmation that we're headed to the downside to that 120.
I have to hit the bang.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
He's in the house, right? He'd get upset if we didn't hit the bang. He hears the word confluence, he doesn't see the bang animation.
It's like people forgot about him. No, we do not forget. Shout out to Obi. But yeah, no, Amazon actually, speaking of Obi, Amazon, what is it doing?
What is it doing?
Not much. This, you know what? This might have to be the dead one of the day. Forget Apple. This one is doing nothing.
The dead one.
We're up 0.03%.
Wow.
Which is, it's something. Yeah, very much in a flat channel. We're stuck in this rut, this range of 153.30 to about 153.70. So that's about what, like a 30-cent range. This will be interesting to me if we break out of that range. Or maybe even, you know what, I like range plays. If this range gets a skosh tighter, I could maybe take this one up and down. Not uninterested in what is going on here. But yeah, very much I'm happy with my Tesla long, just trucking along right now, or cyber trucking along right now, I suppose. Could not resist it. But yeah, now we're up about 256.70, so we're just gonna continue to drive that truck to the upside, scalpulating it along the way. If I decide this gets a little sketchy, we'll get out a little early, but right now, I am pleased as punch.
And Neil putting in the chat that Intel is absolutely flying to the high side. There goes the $50 break that we were all watching. $50, what's the high? $50.26 now, the high on INTC. 4.5% to the good today, Adara. I remember when this one was stuck in that $30 to $35 range. Those days have come and gone as this company turns a new page in the chapter of its life. It's now a foundry, or at least wants to be a foundry and make other people's designs rather than being the one that designs the chips themselves. And they're putting their money where their mouth is, spending hand over fist on the manufacture and design of these foundries, whether they're in North America, Europe, or the Middle East. Intel is really looking to stay relevant. And quite honest with you, they had competition up the yin-yang this year, whether from the likes of NVIDIA, AMD, even ARM. ARM was really threatening this model because ARM makes cheaper and more energy efficient or energy friendly processors. And so Intel's whole thing was all up in the air. But I got to tell you, every time I look at Intel's chart, I'm more impressed by it. Here it is. 4 3/4 Intel going to the high side, baby. So anybody long on this bad boy from the pre-market, when we told you about the new foundry being built or going to be built in Israel, it has been running up since that time. I think it was like 2% or something in the pre, so it's already run up aggressively right now on the day. So good look there for INTC. For anybody involved in this name, make sure to hold on for the nice move here. But $50 was the break that I was looking for, so keep your eye on that. Let's see where it moves. Now back to ARB, because the only trade that I'm involved in at the moment, flat now as it comes back into that 380. It's doing a bit of a flat bottom below $4. I am concerned we don't have a real decided lower low. We are above VWAP as well. So I'm having, issues here with the decision making. Do I get out here where it looks like we're ever so slightly starting to curl a little bit to the downside on the price action here? It's not really pronounced. It's not anything that, is obvious, but it's just finding the stop, where to put the stop exactly. It's always a tricky thing with these small cap gappers. You try to use rules, you want to make it objective, you want to use ATR, you want to use price action. Oftentimes these small cap gappers march to the beat of their own drum, and as such they don't give you those clearly defined entry and exit points. You're going to have to, think on the fly with these bad boys. Now sub 300% Adara as we come back down below $4. We'll have to see if we get any reprieve here and buyers stepping up. So far, no buyer stepping up. Looks like I may have to cut this. We're already about 8 pennies out of the money. I said I'd cut it at 375. Now we're getting lower prints on the ask in 375. So I don't want to give too much back here as we're already profitable on it. And I don't think this is a good decision. So if it breaks 370, I'm just going to hit the flatten key. And here we go. It looks like we're at that 372 on the ask. So we're awfully close to cutting it here as it breaks down below the flat bottom that we had kind of been making here for a little bit of, for about 20 minutes or so at that 380 level. Yeah, I'm going to have to, yeah, well, we'll see if this gets a bounce. I just don't want to be that guy who flattens it out and then it just rockets up back into 4. That's going to peeve me off, but whatever. I see a lot of people talking about oil as well. Oil strong on the day. The CL contract up 3 1/3%, above $76. Let's bring in oil. Do I have any charts that I can use? No, so I got to bring in my trusty side charts over here. Yeah, the CL contract rocketing up on the day. Here we go. Futures. And we're going to go into January. There it is, baby. Good look for oil. Oil's been weak as of late. Don't really see why we're moving up on the day. Don't know if there's anything Middle East related. I know that there's been issues with the Suez Canal and the Red Sea in general, with attacks being carried out against shipping containers, commercial shipping containers. Oil is included in that equation. There was talk about Russian ships getting safe passage, and then, more Western ships being attacked. Whether or not that's accurate, that's kind of what was being reported at a point. But we're at that $76 area here on CL. I didn't look at any of the equity names, but where could we find resistance on the contract? Well, right here, because we kind of were at this level back on December 1st. We haven't been at these levels since the beginning of the month, Adara. So oil has been quite weak, but kind of recovering a little bit here as we head into the new year. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on oil, but it's already up 3 1/3. Good look for oil on the day. All right, ARB still holding that 380 level, so I'm going to try to pack my patience and not get out of this trade. All right, let's see what everybody else is talking about. Watch oil for potential resistance here, says M Stone. Good look by you. That's exactly what I was thinking, to be quite honest with you. So if you're in oil, keep your eye on that longer term chart. I'm talking about December 1st, when the last time we were up here. how do you guys put in a trade? We have a system here called P Pro 8, and there's just like any other system, you can put in buy, sell orders, stop losses, you name it. And we have all the tools really at our disposal, whether through trade ideas that we're sponsored by Benzinga. Dara uses Benzinga all the time. She'll be talking about that later. We have our personal platform, so we have all these data sources that we use here. I hope that helps. USO, pump it. LOL, I set my stop, says the crazy Stitch lady. USO, not a bad look. Let's have a look at what this one's been doing on the day. USO. For like a day where there's supposed to be a lot of people off, there's like a lot of people in this office. I like it. Right?
I wasn't
like Wainers and the OB1 Knob, they're all like yelling up a storm back there. United States Oil Fund, so that is the ETF, I'm assuming, for oil, and it's moving up nice with the CL contract. I don't really trade this, to be honest with you. What's the volume done today on USO? Not bad, 2 million shares. Obviously not as much as the contract, but not a bad look, getting into that $71 area on USO, 70.97 technically, the HOD. Now, we didn't really look at the future, but the future is doing like its little consolidative dance here. And in case you missed the lesson last week, this teal area, that's R1 on my chart. So we're talking about pivot points here. So the green dotted one is the pivot point itself, and then the first resistance, R1, is the teal, this baby blue area. And we've been holding that essentially all morning. And I don't know if it's that or if it's the 50-point level at 70,050, but we've been finding a bit of a flat top here for a little bit. We've been this even made me think that we were going to go short on the future today. And the reason I thought that was we were doing the wicking dance here with this 70-50 level. We would get into that 70-50, reject off 70-50, and then do the same thing over and over again. So I'm like, okay, this looks like it's setting up to break down. And it kind of did. After it made a newer high though, 70.61, we tanked all the way back into 70.20, but we didn't come back into 17,000. We didn't come back anywhere near the pivot point or the Friday close. The Friday close is 16,980, just a smidge below 17. So looks like we're gonna stay elevated, at least if we don't sell off. We're up 0.4% today on the NQ. So I'm not really going to look short until we break down here below some of these earlier lows on the NQ. But I feel like we're range bound, which is not an unusual thing on a day where there's going to be lesser volume. So, maybe we'll just have to pack our patience on this day and take whatever the market gives us. Chef Joe, Sharif, can you look at Enphase for playing into 2024? Absolutely. Let's have a look at Enphase. But before I do that, I just want to see what ARB is going to do here. Are we going to break down? Yeah, ARB.
ARB.
I hear the guys in the back there. They like that name. Yeah, maybe we'll just wait a little bit longer. Let's have a look at Enphase. Enphase has been a tough name on the year. Solar in general has been absolutely shellacked in 2023, mostly due to higher rates that may be changing now as we predict possibly 3 interest rate cuts into next year. That is if you believe the Fed dot plot, which is essentially their outlook at where rates will be at any given time. And they released that at the last Fed meeting. Okay, Enphase. First of all, I'm looking at this support area first because now we're looking at curling back to the high side on Enphase. So I'm interested as to where we'll be finding resistance. And so this 150 is a hell of a looker. And it takes us all the way back into April and June of this year when 150 essentially was the base that we kept bouncing off until we broke down aggressively. It looks like on earnings here in late July, we tanked. We broke down below 150 aggressively. Like the day prior, we had been in the 180s, and then one day we lost $50 a share coming down into the mid 130s. Since that time, it started putting in lower highs and lower lows. That all changed, though, when we based out in the October. So it wasn't October, but it was a November to remember, and there was no question it was a November to remember for Enphase as we continue to make higher highs and higher lows. And so this is basically a company that's sort of in energy and sort of in solar. It makes a converter that basically takes the solar energy and helps convert it into actual storage energy to be saved in a battery pack. And so that's the two parts of the solar setup. So when you get the solar panels on your roof, you don't just, use the energy as it comes in. No, it has to be stored somewhere. So you got to get the panels and you got to get the battery packs. And so they make the inverter or converter or whatever that transforms, pardon me, the solar energy into actual storage energy. So that's their little modus operandi there. Now, with respect to the technicals, they have broken above the 50 and they are knocking on the door of that 200 EMA on the daily, which is, on my chart is around that 144 area. Now we're getting now the 50 starting to curl a little bit to the high side, and quite frankly, we hadn't really seen the 50 starting to curl to the high side at all. Now you're starting to see it point upward rather than downward. You haven't gotten a golden cross. You haven't, you know, the 50 and the 200 are still separated by some ways. On my chart, they're separated by about 30 bucks or so, maybe even more, about 35 bucks. So, you know, there's still more to be done here. So the first thing I'd say is let's get above that 150 critical resistance area because it was previously support, but I already like the look. We have the proper economic landscape with rates possibly coming down into next year. Now, the other thing though I gotta mention, and we don't get political, but I gotta get political here, is that if the Dems lose in November, I'm talking about the presidency, that I don't know how solar is going to do. Okay? Now, you just go back and look at the solar charts during the Trump presidency and look at them before the Trump presidency and then look at them after the Trump presidency. So it's basically, you know, not a good look for solar if the Republicans take power. I'm agnostic either way. I don't care. We trade price action here. But I thought to tell you that in case you're going to invest long term, you have to be aware of that wild card because we are coming into an election year. There's just no two ways about that. So make sure you know all the variables before you start punching long or doing anything here on Enphase or anything solar in general. It is an election year, but you do have a nice tailwind with respect to rate cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely an interesting look with Enphase. Even Enphase on the daily is doing a bit of a roundy face, shout out to Sharif, or a smiley face here, making a move to the upside. We already are up in the day, mind you, but I mean like a move up to kind of crack above this 139. So I'm going to keep my eye on it, but I'm not going to really make a move on this one at the moment. Volume's not bad though, but 1.5 mil from what I can tell here. NVIDIA also getting into that area that I mentioned is of interest to me, namely excuse me there, that 495, 450 area. Because that way, if we break above that, we're going to kind of have a new high, but definitely like some more movement to the upside. And I think that could definitely be a moment, kind of similar to what Enphase is doing actually, a roundy face. This one has a bit more jagged of teeth here. We also had sort of a double bottom-ish around this 492, 492.50. So I think that's interesting. John Appleseed tagging me here. Can y'all take a look at ticker BETS, B-E-T-S? Over 1 billion in volume is spooky. Yeah, let's look at BETS. I think we talked about BETS last week as well. This is Bit Brother Limited on the NASDAQ. Yeah, so I'm seeing here 800.5 million on my side, but yeah, I think sometimes I see slightly different volume here in P-Pro 8. So yeah, that tracks. This is wild here. Definitely a mover to the upside, 67.31% to the upside on the day. So we're $0.00086 right now is what we're trading at, more or less. Sorry for how messily I just said that, but c'est la vie. We did have a really nice double top here of about that .000. What is this, .00? Sorry, 0.0085. There we go. I can see. Yeah. So we are below a penny here is what's happening. This is an interesting one. We did break above this top, though. We're moving a little bit higher. Let's look at the daily because I like to, especially with these penny stocks, it's really interesting to kind of see how their life has gone to this point. The life of BETS has been a little tragic as of late. We did take that move to the downside in a big way on October 26th. Just that swoop. Then we had swoop. We had a flat bottom. We tried to make a little bit of a higher move here December 4th and then crashed right the heck back down. This is a flat bottom if I've ever seen one. Will it break? What will we do from here? This big candle of volume though is significant. Yeah, we're getting like we're close to 1 billion here from what I can see here in P-Pro 8. Yeah, this is massive, and I think breaking out of this kind of flat topish area that we have is significant. Let's see if we do 0.009. Let's see how it's shaking here. Also, I got out of Tesla, definitely a moment too soon, but I'll talk it through it. So what I should have done was waited to see us form a lower low. We didn't, and I should have stayed in. What I instead did was, like I said, I'm scalpulating, right? And so what I'm trying to do is, if I notice areas, yes, I realize, I'm trying to make fetch happen over here. Shout out to Mean Girls. But
so funny, oh my god. I just saw that the other day because it was Christmas. I always have that. All right, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not gonna happen. Like, yo, stop being so rude, bro.
I love that voice.
Yeah, like, let her say her word. What's your problem?
Let her say fetch, yeah. So I guess I'm trying to make scalpulate happen. But so basically what I was seeing was a little, because what I do with scalpulating is I watch the tape in addition to the chart. And what I was noticing was we were having a really hard time breaking above that 256.50, I guess 256, like 60, 70 area. So I got out at 256.65. I said sayonara because I wanted to take profits. But yeah, I mean, it also maybe, in retrospect, could have done a bit of a re-up here or, reload DCA around this 256.20, but I didn't plan it, so I didn't do it. Overall, it'll be interesting to see if we can break decisively to the high side. I may continuing to range scalp this. Scalpulate, how do you spell that, says Noah. That is how I would spell it, actually. So, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a dictionary, but for this word that I've made up, I will say that is appropriate spelling. Also, you got out of...
Yeah, I did. It broke down the level over here. There we go. I can show you. So made that newer low, and that's it. That we're going to call it quits. Still a profitable trade. So this is where we got in. We got out. This is where all the outs. You guys see the whole thing. Nothing really to write home about, but ARBB still, still in play. I mean, it's still above VWAP. So if it comes down, holds VWAP, we're going to be interested in this one again. It's definitely not the end of the trade, like, if it was to tank back down to $2 or something, but had to get out of it for now. We'll look to reignite if it's warranted. AI, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about AI in the chart. I'm not in the chat. I mean, I don't see a reason why it's moving up. I'm looking for entries on my blotter. Nothing really showing here, but 3.8%. It's a heavily shorted name. Neil, did you have an opportunity to look at the short float? Neil's looking for a reason why this is moving as well, and I don't know why. But we're knocking on the door of that $30 area. We're awfully close, about 10 cents up. 35% is the short float on AI. So I'll tell you exactly what the float is. The float for AI is 102 million. Do 35% of that, so about 37 million shares of the 102 are shorted, or So we'll have to wait and see what we get, but I'm not confident getting into this trade without a catalyst. We were dancing at 29 all morning. Let's look at the 5-minute chart. We had a low, I believe, of 27. Was that the pre-market? Yeah, that was the pre-market. So what was the low after the bell? The low after the bell came at 28.75. So we're still not really, flying or anything here, but definitely something to be cognizant of. 3.5%. Now, with respect to the future, I see a lot of people talking about the future over here, and we're still not doing enough for me to get long or short on the future. Now, VWAP, we held up a little bit on a couple of times. It wasn't really a VWAP hold. It was more like a VWAP dip and then break back up. We are at the teal. The teal is R1 for my pivot points, but it also happens to be that 50-point level, 70.050. And, we were kind of wicking into 70.050 all morning as a resistance level. Are we going to do the opposite thing now, where we break it decidedly and then use it as a level of support rather than a level of resistance? We'll have to wait and see. We're above 17.050, pardon me, at the moment. But I want to get a little bit away from it and then come back down to it possibly as a dip trade if we're going to get involved in the future over here. It's a good look. Now, NVIDIA has been another one that I've been watching all day. NVIDIA and Tesla, as they are a bit stronger on the day, 1 1/3 for NVIDIA. Now, it had a nice move up there on the open, and there was all sorts of buying. There were 3 uninterrupted candles on the 5-minute chart, taking us from the Friday close at that let's just say the pre-market low was around 489. We rocketed up into 496. We have a 496 exactly high a day. Look at this double top over here, and then you had an immediate sell-off through R1. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what we do at R1. Well, R1 hasn't factored in here as an important level at all, but thankfully VWAP has, because on the curl back up, on that breakdown, we rejected at VWAP. VWAP was kind of showing itself to be important at that point. And then we had a nice little double bottom here on the 5-minute chart, which is an obvious bullish pattern. And we broke the neckline of this VWAP retest, let's call it that, at 493.50, and now we're knocking the door of 495. So strength for NVIDIA here on the day, but coming into this like earlier consolidation area at 495, so we'll have to wait and see if we can take that with any vigor. We're waiting for my friend Alfred to find his way. He's never been here before. He's supposed to be here already. We're supposed to be doing the fundamental analysis kind of introduction. In case you're just joining us, my friend Alfred, who I talk about often on the show, will be coming in. He's going to be taking us through the ABCs of fundamental investing. So for those who are interested in building a long-term portfolio to kind of coincide with their swing trading or day trading or whatever you're doing, he'll be coming in talking about the ABCs of fundamental analysis today. And then he'll also be coming in tomorrow talking about the ABCs of value investing, a derivative of fundamental investing, obviously, and one that's been made popular by the likes of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and even Berkshire Hathaway. All right, so looks like he messaged me now. Getting off. Okay, cool. He'll be here in 3 minutes. Yeah, he knows where to go. I told him I'd open the door for him because there's nobody on the other side of the office, so just to message me. Yeah. So coming in soon, baby. Coming in soon. We'll be taking you through that. Yes. And then obviously the big kahunas as well. We're going to be on with their trades.
Indeed, yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see the elusive Alfred in person, live and in person after, we've had text from Alfred live on the show, so this will be an interesting time indeed. Also, shout out to Noah and the chat. This is about scalpulate. Let's add that to the Adara Webster Trading Dictionary. Right? Got a kick out of that, so there we go. Also, Bears versus Bulls, tell them to use the bat tunnel. There you go.
Oh man, I just remember the old, what's it called? The TV Batman. What was it called?
The 1966 Batman.
Yeah, there's no specific name for that Batman. Yeah. Anyway, I remember like when he would like move like the statue's head, or he would rotate it, and then it would open up, and then he'd slide down like a fireman's pole. Yeah. And that Batcave, let me tell you, the computers there. Remember they had to like put pieces of paper into the computers. It's like what piece of paper is he putting into the computer? What is he telling? But that's like how you programmed back in the day. It was binary. It was all zeros and ones, right? And then that's how you spoke to the computer.
No, I remember like them getting like all the Riddler's little codes off these pieces of paper.
And the computer predicted. That was the original AI. That was the original AI. Batman knew.
Paved the way.
Exactly. Quadunk coming, says Molfar.
Ooh, Quadunk.
Possibly here, rejecting 17050 again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also looking, speaking of rejections, NVIDIA rejecting this 494.50, sort of a double top situation, though I do not want to predict that before it comes in. Either way, like I said, lots of levels I'm looking at for NVIDIA and Tesla. This level for NVIDIA, this for 494.50, and also this 495.50, so about $1 in between here, because these are kind of two areas. A, this is kind of the highest we got here, and B, this is from where we fell down in the beginning, earlier in today, I sound so dramatic, earlier in the day, and where we've kind of come back up and seeing a little bit of move to the downside. Also, shout out to the Hayes Records, 199 super chat. Happy Boxing Day, fam. Watching from Mexico City right now. And there's a little gorilla emoji as well. So thank you very much for the super chat. Enjoy Mexico City. Sounds like a very warm time. Perfect. I'm also going to look at Paramount right now, and this might seem like kind of a random choice, but I will contextualize. A, Paramount is very rangy, which is the type of thing I like, although the range in question is like 4 cents, so it's a little bit less exciting. B, Paramount actually was apparently hacked, according to TechCrunch reporting here. This is 10:55 a.m., so right before we went live on the midday, I saw this and I kind of became intrigued, put it up on my side chart. Paramount, or I guess the owners of National Amusements, apparently hacked here, confirmed that they experienced a data breach in which hackers stole the personal information of tens of thousands of people. So it's a little dicey over here. Yeah, 15 to 1504, sort of a range. Not doing too much right now, but the point I'm trying to make is, something I want to keep an eye on, just because I do kind of find, stuff with catalysts sometimes interesting. You never know which catalysts are going to react, and sometimes things might react a little bit later than you'd expect, right? So we are up 0.04 in the day. Super exciting. No, I'm joking, but definitely something I want to keep an eye on. Also, I don't know how I just noticed this. I think maybe Sean might have mentioned this earlier. I believe Microsoft in a bit of a downward mover here as well. This area for 374, we bounced right back up on decent volume actually earlier today. So let's see if we can, how we kind of hold up at this level. If we break below this level, a short could be in the works for, we'll call it micro short, I guess, Microsoft. But yeah, this downward trend, not anything to scoff at in my humble opinion. Also Meta continuing to form this range that I was looking at here as well. If there's anybody in the chat here that that anybody wants to look at or take a look at, you know, let me know. But yeah, I mean, I love my mega caps, and in Meta here also looking like it could be of interest. I like that, not exactly a double top, but I do think that this area of resistance at this 356 is not anything I want to scoff at. Thank you everybody for support for my voice. Yeah, just a little bit overexerted after the fun holiday weekend. And let's see here, there's someone in the chat here, CDMX, Paul Goodson here in the chat. Let's look at CDMX. Oh, sorry, it's a place. Wow, it's a place. It is not a ticker. Look at that. I see 4 letters and I assume ticker. But yes, let's see what else is going on here. Alfred is in the building. Shout out to Neil in the chat here. And shout out to Sharif and Alfred. Top, Zero mentioning top. Yeah, I was a child that grew up around Tupperware. My mom was a Tupperware person, so a brand I'm familiar with. Stock, kind of interesting today, intraday. Let's do some trend lines. I am very sketchy at drawing these, as we know, so I apologize. But yeah, we had sort of, kind of forming 2 almost. We had this one earlier, very much a steep upper trend line. Fell out of that to the downside around, made a lower low here. This 1105, then kind of more decisively around 1120. Then we picked back up, and now we're kind of seeing, I would argue, trend line numero dos starting to form a bit less steep here. But if we don't break below this 236 area, ironically, where we actually broke below this lower trend line, so this 236, let's make this even more convoluted and draw a 5th trend line. This 236 could actually be really of note for Tupperware, because that's where we fell below and out of this trend line earlier, and this is where we are kind of dancing here as well. If we break below that, this 236, moral of the story, 236, very much an area of support. I think it could be key for Tupperware over here. So let's see how that's shaking, and let's get rid of all of these crazy trend lines over here. But yeah, Paramount, I guess to go back to Paramount, also kind of interesting to me too, because we did have last week all of that M&A discussion with regards of maybe meeting with Warner Brothers. That was reported. Let's look at Warner Brothers too. Let's see how Warner Brothers is shaking. Oh yeah, why am I looking at Paramount when Warner Brothers is right here? Jeez. Okay, Adara, let's shake that off. Shout out to Taylor Swift. But yeah, look at like Warner Brothers breaking the pre-market high. Looks like we were in a downward trend, and continuing until after open actually. Shot right back up at 1045. Took 0 prisoners here. Warner Brothers Discovery. Any news on this guy? Well, I guess Aquaman sequel topped the box office, so I'm not going to say that's the catalyst here. No assumptions, but I do like how this one is looking at. Big swoop to the upside. Let's see if we break this kind of 1140 area. Let's look at the daily at Warner Brothers, because whenever things are near high of day and I don't know where we can kind of go from here, I like to kind of see what we do on the daily. Okay, Warner Brothers Daily is an interesting look indeed. I'm going to save people from my horrible trend lines again. But yeah, we sort of had almost a double top, more or less, around this 1450. First one, June 2023, then again, early August 2023, about a month apart. Then we kind of were breaking below this area, this kind of rangy area that had been of interest. This 1250 area, decisively below, downward trend until we broke out of it thereabouts around this October 30th. So I guess when the November to remember, shout out to Sharif, was beginning to form, was beginning to kind of bake here. We broke above, kind of tested this bottom again and went back to the upside. Yeah, I think it looks like an upward trend is in order for Warner Brothers. I would like to see us decisively break above this 1130. And then above this 1250 again, because 1250 also, if you notice, this is an example of what Sharif calls kind of resistance becoming support or support becoming resistance. We had massive resistance at this 1250 earlier. When we broke below that, that was pretty significant. Now we are looking like we're going to kind of test this as support. So I think that is very much an area I'd like to look at. Not that I think we'll make it today, but Warner Brothers looking to break new highs of day today. So maybe I will be discovering a Warner Brothers long today. Apologies for that very questionable pun. Kodak, Jack Mission and Kodak. Oh, yeah, thank you, Sharif, for liking the pun over here. Eastman Kodak Company. Kodak, what are you getting up to today? CODK. Oh, it was granted a patent on December 5th. That's the last thing I am seeing here. Not doing too much today, I gotta be honest with you, Jack. We're at around below 250,000 in volume, so, you know, not much. Byron Hart, just Warner Brother, WB. Thank you so much. Seeing some other, Paulie D also making a pretty good Warner Brothers pun in here. James Dell saying, damn, I wasn't WBD. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely one to discover today, even though Paramount, which actually had the hack news, was reacting a little bit less than I thought. Haroon saying Roku looking strong. Let's see what we think about Roku here. Oh, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I was back in Winnipeg visiting my family, and they have a Roku. And yeah, the Roku's got a lot of the channels ready for you to look at. Not a bad TV, but look at this. Higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high. Let's see how we dance around this 94.4, 94.6 area. I think this is a very solid look indeed. Haroon, thank you for mentioning this one. Oh, James Dell clarifying he got stopped out of Warner Brothers. Yeah, it was definitely a weird, shaky one today. Thank you, Eddie R. Careful with forcing the voice. Yeah, we'll see. I'll do what I can here. We'll try to be careful. But yeah, Roku looking really nice. Let's see the daily on Roku. Okay. We had an upward trend, sort of broke out of that one. Bit of a swoop to the downside and then a full plummet to the downside on December 15th. What happened on December 15th for Roku? Let us find out. December 15th. Oh, we got a downgrade from Moffett-Nathanson. So that's what happened here. Yeah, so we're looking to recover. I think, you know, breaking above this 10.05 would, 10.05. 105 would be kind of the first interest. A break above 107, that would be a newer high. At least kind of break out of this rut that we have been into. So I think this shall be of interest for me. Also, I'm just gonna pull up Tesla because that is what I do over here. Tesla's still up almost 2%, pulling back a little bit, getting a little bit compression-y. We are a skosh compressed over here. But yeah, like I said, like slightly lower highs, slightly higher lows still. I got out of this a little bit early, but we didn't lose anything here, so no worries. Shout out to Combat Rex in the chat. Thank you for the support here. Are we good to go? She doesn't have a headset on. Fabulous. Okay, so without further ado, very excited to turn it over to Sharif and his pal Alfred to discuss some value investing. I believe this should be a great chat. Let's turn it over to the big desk.
Here we go. Yes, welcome back, everybody. He is in studio now. Alfred, my friend, and one of the investors we're going to be talking to today. We're going to be getting like some ABCs, how to start your long-term portfolio, what the ABCs of fundamental investing are. And if you are a viewer of the show, you've probably heard me talk about him a lot of times. Alfred, welcome to the show, my man.
Well, Merry Christmas, fellow capitalists.
I love it. Yeah, there you go. Right off the bat. All right. So first and foremost, let's just let everybody know how you and I met. So, you know, I spend a lot of time at the gym. You used to go to Good Life as well. Him and I were sharing a machine. And, you know, he's not one to enjoy other people's sweat when he's working. So he's like wiping down the machine between every set that I'm doing and he's doing. We're working in together. And that's just kind of how we started talking.
Called being respectful, man.
Yeah, and then he's actually a good boxing guy. He was taking boxing for years and years and years. Helped me train boxing. My friend Elliot and he was training us literally every Saturday morning. And then obviously when you create a friendship, you start talking money, and that's how this whole thing started. Thanks for coming on again.
I'm fat and busted today, but that's okay.
All right. Okay, so, viewers of the show, they're going to know that, about the Tesla trade of 2019. Guys?
Made some money there.
Yeah. Tesla trade of 2019. I've told them about the March 20th dip buy, the March 2020 dip buy as well. So, everybody knows your highlights. But really what we want to know is kind of what are the ABCs that you look at when you're looking at things, equities to get into?
Okay,
You're always coming to me with new ideas all the time.
All right, well, first things first is you got to look at the 3 financial statements. Those are the pillars of value investing, right? So you got to be looking at your balance sheet. That's the oil check for the lifeblood of the company. See if this company is financially healthy. Your income statement, is it profitable? This is something that we need to figure out whether or not, you want to throw mass amounts of capital in it, or is this just a gamble? Are we going to Chinatown on Saturday night?
Throw the dice?
Throwing the dice, looking at the chicken fights, that sort of thing, right?
Okay. All right.
Or is this, is this something that, has the opportunity to become profitable someday? So we'll walk through that. And then finally, it's the cash flow statement, right? So basically, the cash flow statement tells you whether or not this company is actually able to sustain itself, right? So profitability is one thing, but cash flow, that's a whole nother thing, right? Is this company able to survive the dips? Is this company able to stay solvent during the good times and the bad? Right. So why don't we start with the balance sheet, right?
Okay.
So the financial health check of the company, right?
Right.
We start with your assets minus liabilities equals owner equity, right? So that's the basics that you find out in accounting, right when you take accounting 101. But let's break this down a little bit more. So your assets will be your current assets and your long-term assets, right? So current assets are just things that can be liquidated within 12 months, something that can be, easily liquidated so that you can pay your current liabilities, right? Your long-term assets would be something like plant, property, equipment, right?
Gotcha.
And the major pitfall here that you got to look at with your long-term assets is goodwill. What are you paying for, right? What are you paying for, right? Do you like to pay for air?
Right.
I don't like to pay for air. I like to have, real hard assets for my dollars I'm putting in, right?
So just to ask you a quick question. So right away, when you're looking at the long-term assets component of the balance sheet, you're looking to see how much is attributed to goodwill. And then you're going to look at and decide whether, based on this company's history, do they warrant this amount of goodwill?
Well, goodwill is more of a...
Should we define what goodwill is?
So goodwill is just kind of usually, being a cynic myself, goodwill is when a company buys another company and, they overpay for it. It's just a little bit, right? Or a lot, depending on what it is, right? And we'll see how good of a capital allocator this company, the management team is over time, right? Are we able to, allocate funds effectively in order to grow, your revenues, your profitability, and such and so forth, right? And if you find that, the company is not a very good capital allocator, that's a good sign that, maybe this needs a gutting of the management team or something of that type of nature, right? So there are obviously, intangibles and goodwill that do add up to something. Coca-Cola as a brand is worth something, right?
Of course.
It's, we buy Coke over RC Cola if it still exists or whatnot, right?
Does it?
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what it exists?
Go on,
but either way, but it's important.
I gotcha.
But too much goodwill, not a good thing, right? So depends, just like the charity, I don't believe in that stuff either, right? So, okay, so moving down, we go down to the current liabilities, right?
Okay.
So that's the stuff that you owe within the next 12 months, right? So, you old Tony, 20 points on the VIG, right? And what happens if you can't pay? He'll send, Johnny Legs and Joey the Bat, right, over to your place. And it wants to collect, right?
Okay.
And that'll hurt your credit rating if you can't pay them, right? So that's kind of what you're looking at. You want to see if you have enough current assets to at least cover your current liabilities.
Right.
That sort of thing, right? And then when you're looking at the long-term liabilities, right, you're looking at, the cost of financing, all the debt that you have, right? Is this at a good interest rate? Who knows,
and
right?
that came to the forefront a lot more this past year.
Absolutely, right?
And you and I have had conversations about the likes of Enbridge. You were really interested in Enbridge, and you and I talked about the fact that they're carrying a lot of debt because they're doing all these company acquisitions, trying to acquire their way into growth, and having to pay a coupon, having to pay a dividend in the meantime, and how that the accumulated debt could affect that possible dividend payment.
That's,
this interest thing is a lot more important now in a higher rate environment.
Like interest rates are, like Warren Buffett would say, they're, like gravity onto stocks, right? So pull you down to earth if, they're getting too heavy to manage, that type of thing, right? So yeah, absolutely, in these high interest rates, interest rate times, we got to see, can you meet, your long-term obligations, right? And can we refinance, right? That's another situation, right? So a lot of these like utility-like companies, they do carry a lot of debt.
They do.
But you know what? They're able to refinance. They have strong cash flows, which we'll go over later, right? And we'll talk about that sort of thing, right? So the next statement we look at is the income statement, right? So income statement, you look at your revenues or your top line, right? And then you subtract, your expenses in which to, it takes to operate the organization, right? Okay. So the first that you would take off is your variable expenses or your cost of goods sold, cost of revenue.
Right.
Sometimes you'll hear the cost of goods sold being referred to as the COGS, right?
Right, yeah.
And you hear that all the time, right? So basically, what does it take to actually make the product or service? What does it actually cost?
Costing you.
To make that, right? And you just take your top line, you subtract, your COGS, and that will be your gross profit, right? Okay. So your gross profit will give you an idea when you divide gross profit by your top line revenue. Right. How your gross margin. So you hear that term a lot, right? Gross margins. How potentially profitable is this company, right? Because the next thing you look at is your operating expenses, right? These are your long-term expenses, right? Which basically, these are the costs that it would cost an organization to run if they make no money or they make a ton of money, right? Okay. They're just fixed. Your cost to market your product, your cost to pay your employees, your if you have any office buildings or plant or property that you need to upkeep, that's all part of the fixed costs, right? So when you take your gross profit and you subtract your operating expenses, that would equal to your operating income, right? Okay. And you've heard that term before, the operating margins, right? All the time. So you take your operating expenses and such, you subtract it from your gross profits. Okay. You take that amount and you divide it by your top line revenue, and that's your operating margin, right? Okay. What you want to look with operating expenses is how good is your management team at shrinking these expenses over time? And how far back do you look? You can look back as far as you want, but if you're really like a long-term investor, right? You want to look like 10, 15, 20 years down the road, right? Okay. Or at least as long as the current management team's been in power, right? And do different sectors have different standards for what is acceptable in terms of expenses? So, I mean, if you're looking at something that is, the input costs are high because it's a good being produced, not a service, right? So is there room in your analysis for different sectors, right? Of course, right? So if you're looking at more tech type companies, you want to have a little bit more, less operating expenses since you don't have a plant to operate, that type of thing. You're capital light, you've heard that term, right? So if you're actually producing something, right, like widgets, the mythical thing that nobody knows what they are, right? You gotta have some actual manufacturing costs associated with these type of things, right? So, obviously when you have a product, you're going to have more expenses than a service, right?
Gotcha.
So that's why everyone likes to invest in tech, right? Because it's so capital light, this, that, and the other. All the money can come back to me, Big Daddy Al, right? So why not?
I love that. And you hear a lot about these SaaS companies with 80 some odd % gross margins because, well, they're producing a service and there's no actual infrastructure, maybe other than the cloud, off which to run it. But that isn't the case for a goods producing company like NVIDIA that has to make these GPUs. They're going to have gross margins on 30%. So you kind of have to be industry aware, no? You have to, the SaaS has X % of gross margins. A good producing company has Y % gross margins, and you have to account for that on every investment.
So like the thing about value investing is that you don't have to have a large circle of competence, but you got to know what your circle of competence is, right? Yeah. I don't know what it takes to manufacture, CPUs, GPUs, all that type of stuff, right? That's a little outside my wheelhouse, right?
Gotcha.
So certain things, you got to look at to see like what, you actually know about, right? So it's not just about what you've worked in, the industry that you've worked in, but what do you use? Look at your phone. Look at the top 5 apps that you use.
Okay.
That's probably a good place to start, right?
Interesting.
Some products that you use and you love. Some people love Teslas, right? They're evangelists for Tesla, right? So you probably know a little bit more about Tesla than you would like to think, right?
Sure.
And it just takes that and a little bit of internet research, right, to figure that stuff out. If you really want to become like in depth and put a good chunk of capital into an investment, you got to live, breathe, and eat this type of company, right? So that's just the way it goes, right? Otherwise, diversify. Buy yourself, a nice S&P tracking ETF, that type of thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's not your wheelhouse. You and I have talked a lot about diversification. You're not a fan of diversification.
I'm not, but you know what? I'm getting older now. As you can see, my hairline's up to about here, right? And retirement, you gotta start thinking about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta start looking at, do you want to spend all your time, tracking your investments, right? So the S&P 500, it's a little bit rigged in your favor, whether you know it or not, right? And I'll explain why.
How so?
How so? Well, so basically, it's the 500. Theoretically, the 500, best companies in America, right? And you know what? They're not stagnant, They always like remove the losers over time, right?
They just did, taking out Solar Edge, putting Uber.
There you go, right? So, you're always rigged to have the freshest, newest, it companies out there, right? So, and since it's market cap weighted, right? You're going to get a higher percentage of the winners, right? I want more Microsoft. I don't want Kohl's or whatever that stuff is, right? I want more Microsoft. I want more Google. I want more of that stuff, right?
Fair. Okay.
So, and you know what? If they start failing, right? Well, you're automatically re-rated in order to, get more of the good stuff and less of the bad, right? So it's very hard to beat the S&P 500, right? You could do so, like individual investors have an advantage because they don't have to follow, rules that a hedge fund would have to follow. If I want to put all of my money into one stock, I can do so, right? Good luck doing that, on Wall Street. Good luck, doing that on Bay Street up here in Canada, right? So, and that sort of thing. And I can put as much of a, weighting of something into my portfolio as I want. I can hedge as much as I want or not hedge as much as I want, right? I can play different options on things that I would know would, well, not saying no, but like would have a strong hunch that would happen in the future, right? And that way, I can definitely, have a strong conviction that I can beat the S&P 500 over time, right? Okay. However, you know what? It's not for everyone. It's really not for everyone. And if you don't want to spend your nights, in your basement reading financial statements like I do at times, watching every news release about every company that you own, the S&P 500, or the S&P 100, there are, ETFs that track that.
Sure.
Right? I think we got off track a little bit, but like,
Go for it.
Going back onto the income statement,
Yep.
right? So once you take your top line, you minus all your variable costs and your fixed costs. That's what you would call your net profit, right?
Right.
That is, AKA the bottom line, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say so, or something, right? So, but either way, right? That's the mythical number that you look at, right? And you've heard the term EBITDA, right?
Of course.
So EBITDA is earnings before, interest, depreciation, and taxes, right? So you want to look at all that stuff, which is still a real cost, and you want to subtract that out as well. I spoke a little bit soon about the net income, but once you take all that away from your EBITDA, you have your net income, and that's your true bottom line. And that's kind of a very good understanding of if your company is profitable or not.
Okay.
But back in 2018, there was a new rule that came out, right, where it says that if you have marketable securities, right, you have to report the unrealized gains and losses over time, right?
So you have to mark to market it.
Mark to market, right?
Interesting.
So that is why the income statement for certain companies that have a lot of securities on their balance sheet, right, as not really a great indicator of how profitable you are anymore.
Yeah,
right?
just to build on that point, viewers of the show will remember the regional banking crisis that we had earlier this year, and how a lot of them, when they had the run on the bank and they had to satisfy all these requests for withdrawals, that they didn't have enough liquidity to actually satisfy that. So they had to go into their balance sheet, liquidate some of the longer dated bonds that they had at a loss, because you recall in in March of this year, rates were really elevated at this point, and so bond prices were down as bond yields were higher. And so a lot of the talk about after that was forcing these financial institutions to market their bond holdings on a quarterly basis, so that there wouldn't be this huge variance of what you bought it at versus what it currently the current market value is. Because, well, what's the point in telling me what the future value is going to be in 20 years? I need the money right now.
Yeah, exactly right. So like, basically, you need to. There are a lot of companies like Berkshire Hathaway, like Markel, those type of companies that are holding companies and invest in other companies in order to drive their profits, right? Yep. Those are companies that net income is no longer a great indicator of how profitable an organization is, because there's ups and down swings that could definitely happen that may not actually be the truth, right? Anymore. So that's why we look at the cash flows, right?
That's important.
Yes, the cash flow statement will give you a better understanding of what's happening with the cash position, right? And is this company solvent? Is this company able to carry on its ongoing obligations? Right. And from there, we can determine, is this a company that might collapse within the year or two, right? Or not, right? So basically, with your cash flow statement, you got a couple of line items, right? So you take your starting you start with your net income. You add back all the non-cash expenses like depreciation, deferred taxes, all that type of good stuff, right? Because that's not actually a cash expense, right? One of the negative ones that you do add back in is stock-based compensation, right? Okay. So one of the things you need to look at is, are we getting drunk on our own punch, and are we just throwing, stock-based compensation, like it's nothing, right? And a lot of the big Magnificent Seven, they threw around, their stock to their companies like it was nothing, right?
Especially in 2021, 2022, when they were doing a lot of hiring.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's not exactly a great, way of spending your money, right?
Well, it dilutes the shareholder pool, doesn't it?
Exactly,
right? I mean,
right?
And then that has different implications for the stock price later.
Yeah, and exactly, right? So then from there, a lot of companies do buy back their own stock.
Right.
However, you need to see what is the net amount of stock that's being taken off of the market, or being, or are you being diluted through stock-based compensation, right? So that's something to look out for when you're looking at your non-cash expenses, right? From there, you want to look at your cash from financing, right? So cash from interest, right? So basically, what are you paying in terms of your obligations, your financial obligations, right? Is this something that's going down over time, or are your debts going down over time? Are you just circulating your debts round and round? You're taking your bonds off of the market and then just reissuing new bonds, right? Or are you actually paying down debt, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you want to know. Like, financially healthy companies pay down debt. They get in a better position in their balance sheets, right? And that's a strong company to me, right?
All right. Interesting question for you here. We hear a lot about the dichotomy between growth and profitability, right? Do you grow? Do you focus on growing? Or do you focus on becoming profitable? A lot of what I hear often is it depends on the economic climate. Are rates high? So is it going to cost you a lot of money to grow? Or are we in a depressed rate environment like we were in all of the 2010s, essentially? And then you can continue to grow and then kick the can down the road with respect to profitability. What's your look on that?
It depends on what you're looking for. Like, what you're looking for in the company should basically drive what you see in the financial statements, right? So if you are looking for, if you're fairly young, you're looking for, upside, right? You may want to have some growth in your portfolio, right? Like, I may look busted, but I'm still all right. I'm in the middle of my life, right? So I got some time, right? So I can roll the dice on some of these things, right? Why not, right? So, in that case, I want to see revenue growth, but I also want to see the expenses of the company going down over time.
Right.
I also want to see if their R&D expenses, whether they're going up or staying flat, are you driving more revenue growth through this R&D, right?
Right.
That's very important, right? Like,
There
if
has
you're
to
looking,
be a proportionate amount.
absolutely, you can't just be throwing out R&D like it's nothing on vanity projects or whatnot, right? So that's something that you got to be aware of. In order just to get a good sense of whether or not this is a good growth company, right? For everything else, like right now, I've been buying a lot more stable companies. I've been buying like the railroads up until like about a month ago.
Get to that, yeah.
That type of thing, right? These are like, lifeblood of the of our country, right? That type of thing, right? So they're not going away anytime soon. I don't care what they say about self-driving cars or whatever. Good luck getting rid of like the railroads, right? So for those type of organizations, yeah, their revenue growth is a little capped, right? It might not grow like crazy, but you got to see how good are the operators here. What you need in those type of companies is a great operator. You don't need a great innovative thinker. You need someone that can control costs, right? Keep costs in line and improve margins. And as we've seen, especially with these railroad companies, someone who can strike deals, because there's been acquisitions and mergers all throughout this year and previously last year with some of the Canadian railways with the American railways as well. So they're kind of conglomerating the two. All right, so let's put your feet to the fire. All right. So the chat wants to know how you see 2024 unfolding. Well, if you're gonna listen to me, like you really shouldn't listen to some guy on the internet, right? For that, but like realistically, right? Nobody can tell the future. But what I think is gonna happen is that rates are gonna stay somewhat high, for a while, right? I believe that, we can't just flip-flop like this. The Fed, Bank of Canada, wherever you live, would look really, really, really stupid if all they're doing is flip-flopping like the wind, right? Through the wind, right? So I think rates might drop a bit, right? Maybe 100 basis points tops, right? But we're still looking at like fairly high, interest rates, considering the amount of debt that, we've gotten ourselves into collectively, as a society, right? Like both in terms of consumer debt, and companies, So like a lot of companies don't have great balance sheets, right?
Sadly.
Unfortunately, right? So some of the best companies in the world don't have great balance sheets, right?
Yeah.
So, it'll be a boon if we do get significant interest rate cuts, but I just don't see that happening,
Okay.
Like I just don't see that, like I don't feel, and this is, me rolling the voodoo bones out there with my voodoo shaman, that like, are we really in that great of an economy? I look fresh in this 3-piece bespoke suit, but the economy is not as fresh as me, That's just the way it goes, right?
I love it. Yeah,
So,
just dropping hot lines on the desk right now. No, but in all seriousness, though, so we're already looking, when we look at the Fed dot plot, we're looking for at least 75 bips, maybe more. You could say the economy discounts 6 months to a year ahead. Are we already basically pricing in these 3 rate cuts, 75 bips so far? So that's kind of how you see it. Like
I think so.
We're as good as it's going to be.
I think so, right?
Okay.
Like, the thing is, as a value investor, you shouldn't be looking at, macro. You shouldn't be looking at what the Fed does. You should just be looking for deals as they fall in front of you, right? They say don't catch a falling knife. I love that. I love catching falling knives, right?
Okay.
You know what? I don't like days like today where just about everything is up, right?
I know.
I would love that the stock market crashes until I'm just about to retire, and then it goes to the moon, right?
And to build on his point, like he'll seldomly message me when he's up big on the day. It's the days when everything is red that I'll typically get the message from him, and he'll say, I hope everything continues to go down. I want a dollar cost average into all my favorite holdings. And that's literally what the messages that I get from him. But to ask you another question. So with respect to the market, you're thinking maybe stagnant, if not a little bit bearish from where we are here.
You know what? I'm a natural pessimist, right?
Okay.
So whether what I think, it shouldn't really affect what's the data in front of you, right? If you're going to play the macro game, you have to just look at what the data says. You're going to have to pay attention to all the CPI prints.
Yep.
And that's the way it goes.
So give us some picks for 2024.
You know what? Like I'm still looking at like a lot of the dividend companies that have been beat down, right? Like
Give me a ticker.
Like right now, I'm looking at Archer Daniels Midland, right? So ADM, right? Like farm producer, right? Basically agriculture, that type of thing. It's at like a couple-year low, right? It's a company that's going to be in existence, forever, So, eating is not going to go out of style at any time soon, right?
Okay.
And you know what? As the population increases, people want to eat more,
Okay.
and they want to eat better stuff, right? So
What else you got?
So I'm still looking at the railroads, right? They're not as attractive as they were about a month ago, right?
Okay.
But you know what? They're still pretty good, right? Canadian banks are also not bad, right?
You're liking Canadian banks, even with increased loan loss provisions at the moment.
You know what? Like these companies have been around since the 1800s.
Sure.
None of them have missed a dividend payment ever.
No.
Right?
They're known as good stewards of money.
Yeah. Canada is a little different than America, right? We have much stricter, rules in terms of like, managing your capital as a financial institution, right? So I don't see, any of our big 5 banks here in Canada like really falling off at this point. Like I see any like dip in them as like a good time to DCA into your favorite bank, right?
Okay.
I like TD because it has exposure to the States, right? That's not very popular right now, but I like things that are unpopular, right? Like,
Okay. All right, you guys, you heard it here first. Thank you very much for coming in. Giving us the ABCs into fundamental investing is my friend Alfred. He'll be joining us tomorrow to give us a little bit of a tidbit of how to value invest. So here are the basics of fundamental investing. How do we specifically look for value in these names? Make sure to check us out tomorrow. We'll be back with Alfred. Thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for that, Alfred Sharif. I feel like I learned a lot, and I really want to go back and rewatch that, so you can hear it a bit better, take notes. But yeah, I think that was super powerful. I hope the chat enjoyed it as well. Show your love for Alfred in the chat, because that was excellent. I've just been sipping on my tea and hanging out in this NVIDIA short. That is a skosh questionable. Basically what happened is I did accidentally DCA into this. I have this thing, and I've said this before, where if I'm buying, or if I'm long a lot and then short, or short a lot and then long, I'll press the wrong key, because I'm so used to getting out of a trade using X key, right? So I pressed my sell key because I've been doing a lot of longs lately. Fat fingers, thank you. Thank you, Fabian, there we go. So yeah, fat fingered in this trade. We're out about 25 cents right now, but we're holding up so well around this 493.50 area, which is where I initially got in for the majority of this short, that I'm going to stay in this for the time being. If we make a newer high, so that would be this 494.20 area, then I'm going to say sayonara to NVIDIA. I will be out Vidya, not NVIDIA. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see how this goes. I'm a little saddened by the fat finger moment, but c'est la vie. Probably should have taken it all out when I took out some of it, which is what I did do over here. But you know what, as long as we kind of stay below that 493.60, smiley face. But yeah, so yeah, thank you in the chat, everybody showing their support to Alfred, much appreciated there. What else is shaking? Seeing some mentions of Tesla short in the chat. I've had my eye on Tesla all day. To be fair, I have my eye on Tesla just always. But yeah, this one, I want to see a bit more for myself anyway, a bit more secure evidence, at least on my 5 minute, that this is a short. And for me, that would be, you know what I'm going to say, a break below this lower low. So break below 256.70 could be more intriguing to me, because we're still pretty close to the high of day right now. I think we did get a bit lower around this 257, I guess. And then we went back to upside. High of day as of right now on Tesla is 257.82. So we are a little bit of ways away from that. But in terms of where we closed, highest candle we've closed at was this 257.50-esque. So we're about 20 cents away from that. So yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on this one. I feel like it could go either way right now. We just took a massive quadunk. Shout out to Sharif to the downside there. So we're gonna have to see. NVIDIA is picking up a little bit though, so I'm getting a little bit sketched out there. Also, Warner Brothers, I was trying to wait for a point of entrance. Now it looks like we're maybe stair-stepping just a skosh to the downside here. We're getting close to the EMA. I have, I believe, a 9-day EMA here. So we're getting kind of close to that. Like I said, I think the thing with the moving averages in VWAP, and this is something I learned from Sharif with regards to VWAP, is even if you don't use them every time. Sean was also a huge proponent when I went on when he had me on the market recap, which was very nice, pretty early in my trading times. He mentioned, the VWAP is always super important. So I'm always watching out for VWAP. Right now, we're not really interacting with VWAP on Warner Brothers, though. We're getting close to the EMA. So the point I'm trying to make here is even if the stock doesn't always interact with these levels, it's always nice to know where they are. But yeah, so interested in Warner Brothers. We're nowhere near a lower low, but I just think this move to the downside will have me wondering if we have an opportunity for a point of entry. Joey and Coco in the chat, I love that name. Meta looking for a potential pullback. Let's look at Meta. I have had my eye on Meta, almost got into a Meta short, and then decided no, and it looks like probably I should have. Oops. But yeah, so look at this. This is definitely a look here. Oh, I'm in the 10-minute chart. Let's get to the 5-minute. There we go. There we go. Yeah, we're looking like we're trying to pick up a little bit here at this 354.20 numbers. But yeah, so I think this is definitely an interesting look here. We sort of almost double topped here, this 356, right about 356. So this is about, if you got short from that point, it's about $1.80 in the money. Not a bad look at all there. Yeah, what else is shaking here? Amazon's still more or less flat. I really should look at range trading this one though, because the range has been very much bountiful and present, and we know I like ranges. I'm going to zoom in on this just a bit. Yeah, we're now decisively, we were kind of at one point above VWAP. Now we're slowly kind of doing the snake towards below VWAP here. Now range seems to be this 153.15 up to 153.50. pretty tight here as well. Guillermo Sanchez in the chat, Intel may be looking for a pullback as well. And is it? We'll find out. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, because we have that kind of consolidative top, as I've heard Sharif call them. This is what I'm kind of seeing here on Intel, for sure. Yeah, the Intel and Intel today was that we had that $3.2 billion grant coming in from Israel, I said that weirdly, but Intel basically to build a $25 billion chip plant in Israel. So yeah, not a bad look here for Intel, but yeah, I definitely agree with Guillermo saying that it looks like we're getting a bit of a consolidative moment here, a bit of a reverse roundy face, a bit of a frowny face here on Intel. And if the roundy face is to be a reversal to the upside, I would then argue that a frowny face is to be a reverse to the downside. John H asking me how I feel about a PLTR long. Well, I'd have to look at PLTR to make that judgment, so let's pull up PLTR. Oof. Honestly, I've got to say, John H, I think I'd like a bit more sense of direction before I make, a call here, because we sort of had a bit of we moved up free market, then we moved a little bit, bit of a downward trend, but nothing super steep. Then we made this incredible consolidative top / kind of flat top at the 1766. Then we fell, but not very much. Now we're kind of just chopping and turning around this 1760, 1764 area. All of this is to say that, honestly, I think PLTR needs to have a better sense of direction before I can have a sense of direction on it. A thing I like to say a lot, PLTR needs to figure out what it wants to do when it grows up. It needs to figure out what it wants to be with its life. And yeah, there we go. Also now, NVIDIA, like I said, I'm not out of NVIDIA until we break above that 493, where is that? 493.25 area. We're pulling back down just a skosh here. Down, Quadu. But yeah, we shall see what we shall see. Jay Carter asking if I see NVIDIA making new highs on the week. I'm gonna look at this quickly. 5-day. I think it was Super SPACman in the chat telling me that you can use the 5-day to look at the weekly. Can't believe I never noticed that. Honestly, it looks like in the weekly, NVIDIA's in a bit of a kind of a trading in a flat kind of channel right now. So I think in order to make kind of new highs, at least out of this channel, we need to break out of this 535 area. We're at around 494. I don't want to make any predictions here, but it looks like we are definitely stuck in a bit of a rut, but with the higher lows.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
it back to Sharif.
Good to be back, guys. Thanks for being patient with me while I escorted our friend out and yeah, just showed him around the little place here. There's just so many different areas to show in the office. Guys, look, I like this Tesla look over here, man. All I see here on TSLA is a big move up on the open and incrementally higher highs and higher lows. We've put in that new high a day not that long ago, about 12:35, so about 20 minutes ago, 257.82, and we just made a higher low again, holding that general 257 area. TSLA now up 2%, releasing its China deliveries for the week. Today it was about 18,300 cars, about 1% or so higher than the week prior to that, which kind of puts a damper on that whole narrative that the Chinese consumer isn't buying. But keep in mind that a great majority of the EVs that are made by Tesla in the Shanghai facility are exported actually to Europe and other Asian countries. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the Chinese consumer that's keeping these numbers afloat. It could be destinations outside the area, that area as well. But anyway, keeping my eye here on TSLA, just trying to figure out where the best area would be to get in, because we are extended and we are near days highs, right? This is exactly why I like this chart. Higher low, higher low, higher low, and then incrementally higher highs. The higher highs haven't been by all that much. Like, look at the difference here between that 257.50 top and 257.82. So about 30 penny higher high, but higher high nonetheless, holding that 20 period EMA like a glove, it looks like. So we're gonna have to bamboozle a trade here if I'm able to. It's about what levels to get in. It looks like it's gonna go without me here. Popping back right into that $0.50 area again on TSLA. Let's look, let's zoom out a little bit here and figure out where an interesting area of resistance could come into play. Well, I'll tell you, first and foremost, that peak that we made at the open on Friday got us into that 258.25 area, just a smidge below a quarter. So right away, we know that 258.25, that's something to be on the lookout. And then you go back to this December 20th, and we had a day that day here on Tesla because we knocked on the door of that 260. We were awfully close here, Adara, on this candle here at 10 a.m. We got into 259.84, so 16 pennies away from that 260 whole dollar area, and just a smidge below that R1. We are decidedly above R1 today on Tesla. So with respect to using that as a possible resistance area, no. Now you got to look at it as possible support. In case you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about R1 and what are all these dashes and colors on my chart are, we've been talking a lot about pivot points. I am now incorporating pivot points into my daily charts for day trading, not just for intraday or for swing trading, pardon me. So I am always going to have these bad boys. The green dotted line, that is the actual pivot point. Above the green dotted line, the teal, trust the teal, it says max. That is R1 or resistance 1. And then the dark blue, Pepsi blue line, that's R2. Below the green line, though, we have support like we do with resistance. So that red one, that's going to be S1, and then down here, the orange dotted line, that's S2. So anytime you see those on my charts, you can ask me again, obviously, but I'm just letting you know from now. Those are the support and resistance levels with respect to pivot points that I am going to be using from now on. So Tesla, a good look, just not really sure how to bamboozle or weasel my way into this trade, Adara, because it is just awfully strong. And I don't really see a clear support area. Be like, that's the one. That's where I'm getting in. So maybe we'll just have to punch and, just punch and pray, as some people likes to say. Exactly the opposite of Tesla, Adara, is Amazon. Oh. Down and to the right is the Amazonian one. Shout out to the Obi-Wan Kenobi. I saw him playing golf back there. The man was dropping those shots. What is that thing called? What is that? The hole in golf called?
The hole?
Yeah, in golf. What is that in the green?
The hole?
Is it called the hole? I don't know. Well, he was just dropping one after the other. My man is on fire.
Sinking them in the hole. I think he's sinking them in.
There we go. Is Tarzan trading Amazon today, James Dell? I don't know. He's looking at me. All right. Am I going to get the nod? I don't know. I see a flat bottom breakout, 153.25. How do you feel about that? He says the shorts are still coming really off that 154, but he hasn't seen anything to his liking quite yet, guys. So Intel was smoking, he said, and absolutely, you saw the Neil involved in that today. Intel looking real good, 5 1/5. But I think Obi makes a good point. I mean, look at the notional range here on Amazon. We have a high of 153.98, so essentially 154. And right now we're at 153.25. So the range on a $154 stock is about 75 pennies. That, that's not much. At all. Even though the chart pattern is setting up with lower highs and a flat bottom, the notional range is bupkis. So I think Obi makes a good point on that. Personally, I don't have no issues with Amazon. I don't like it at this level either. But this Tesla trade, definitely interested in Tesla. Pot, says Hari Krishna. Okay, I didn't know that. Putting? No, I'm not asking.
People are saying it's called the cup.
The cup. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yes, the cup. Thank you, guys.
Hole.
Yeah, well, I'm just super illiterate and super uncultured. I don't know any of this kind of stuff, so bear with me. I'm sorry. Zoltan is yelling, why is Coin paying me so much? We're going to spin the money for our man Zoltan there as he prints on his Coin-based shorts. The Katina man had some sort of idea. What's up there, Katina man? Zoltan knows what the Katina man is talking about. He knows that he was short 178 on that look. And he covered at 175. So shout out to the Katia. Maxi Jr. Sharif is a D-Gen. I don't know, man. I really don't feel like I am. I rarely want to get into a trade. So I don't know if I'm a D-Gen, but sure, I'll take that. Tesla coming off here, guys? Making a newer low. So we were just singing Tesla's praise. Higher highs, higher lows, this, that, and the other. And then just like that, a newer low comes in, breaking through this trough here at that 257, coming down into that 256.80ish. We'll have to wait and see, is this a quick wick, or are we going to really start trending down here on TSLA? Still up 1 3/4, but at a, for me, an important level. It's got to hold this higher low, otherwise kind of puts the whole trend into question. So keeping my eye on some of these names. It looks like the small cap gappers have kind of cooled off a little bit. ARBB, the one we were trading in earlier, ARB. Was it this one? Yeah, I think ARB was this one. Let's go over here. Yeah, this one has given up the ghost, breaking through to that 440. Wasn't able to break the earlier high of 450, and now we're below 4, stair-stepping down into that 3 3/4 area. So this one becoming of less interest to me incrementally, unless and until it can get above $4, I probably will not be interested in this name. Big Kyle Burdett, Sharif. I'm shorting this pop on the ES as well. Maybe this one breaks the trend, been scalping them out quicker since the sell's been getting bought up. I don't blame you, man, and I'm like, quite frankly, I'm not interested in jumping into a position on the future, and that's because, quite frankly, we've been in this consolidation mode since what time? In 1040. Like, we broke above the 17,050 level at 1035, 1040, and then we've been doing this dance with 17,050, a little bit from the top, a little bit from the bottom. So I'm not really, I don't have a good grasp on the future as of yet. I'm happy that we're holding up 0.4%, so the Santa Claus rally can continue. And, you know, there's obviously reasons for me to be interested in the Santa Claus rally, being that I am invested in some market names, but, you know, right now, with respect to an intraday trade on the NQ or the ES for that matter, I'm not that excited about it. RG, I don't know how to say your name, but you want me to look at Mullen. Yeah, it was an interesting interview. I know, you know, he's obviously, I'm talking about the Alfred interview, he's obviously a technical guy, fundamentals, not really the wheelhouse of the show, but it's really good to understand fundamentals, guys. If you are going to build a long-term portfolio, you have to know what you're investing in, and so I just really want to bring him on there for that. But let's have a look at MULN, because somebody there was asking me, looking at Mullen. Now, we saw this one last week. What a big name was. What was the reverse split last week, Adara?
I think so. I'm going to pull
It was ridiculous reverse split. It was like 18-1 or something like that. I forget the exact amount. But anyway, we're going to load here on Mullen. It was a 100-1, Adara.
Oh my
1 to 100 reverse split on MULN. So my chart is still a little bit skewed because of the reversal. But I got to tell you, I don't like Mullen on the day. I mean, and even though, one second here, let me just load up the deets on Mullen. That's because we're already lower than the Friday day's highs. We're very much an inside day. Well, I wouldn't even say an inside day. It's because the close on Friday was around that a little bit south of $10, right? We don't really make a newer low. We gap a little bit lower. It looks like at 4 a.m. at that $9 area, but we stair step up. Look, on the day, it's not a bad look, too much on Mullen. I see a lot of upside resistance based on Friday's price action. That 11 1/4 area looks awfully consolidative as a flat top. That could be an area of resistance we encounter. Obviously, we have to look at earlier that wick at 9:05 a.m. We got into that 1062 area. We haven't been able to break the pre-market high. I'm not calling this a small cap gapper. You guys know that that's one of my rules for these small cap gappers, to take them along. They got to break the pre-market high on Mullen. We have a $10.60 high at 9 a.m. that we really haven't broken through decidedly. But what I do like, though, is obviously this curl by the roundy face, as Adara likes to know. Of course, now it's a derivative of what Michael Ma says, which is by the round happy face over here, and that is essentially what Mullen did today. Kind of topped up at 10 1/3, 10 1/4, got down into that 9.5, held beautifully that 9.5. Then we've been making higher highs and higher lows, but we do have that flat top at that 1060 for whatever reason. I don't know why 1060's featuring on Mullen on the day, but the fact of the matter is, and it's like the 10th time on the 5-minute chart that we are topping out at 1060 on MULN, up 7 1/3. So not to disrespect it, but Yeah, Mullen, doing Mullen things, I guess. We'll have to wait and see. What's your look there?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's mulling over what it wants to do, because I have no self-control when it comes to buttons. But yeah, Meta doing a center step to the downside that I do not mind at all. I was saying earlier while you were kind of getting all set up with Alfred or after Al. Anyways, the point is I was talking about how I wish I had shorted this. I tried to short this, I didn't get filled. But c'est la vie. I do not dislike the fact that we seem to be making lower lows. And you know what? This kind of area that we swooped up at right as we opened, this double bottom, and when I say double bottom, I mean like within these 2 5-minute candles, this 353.70 to me could be sort of a bottom. So if I get in here, that could be of interest. Also, I did exit my NVIDIA short that I accidentally fat fingered my way into a dollar cost average on. But yeah, not too much of a loss here. Yeah, honestly, like more or less, like I would say it's ended up being pretty flat because I did okay with the first part of my shares and then accidentally grabbed more. Lost about 20 cents, but yeah. So I did get out before we made a higher high, and that is because the scalpulating was telling me when I was looking at the tape, we had a lot of kind of, I guess, interest. We were very much seeing that 493.50, 493.55 is kind of a solid level. I got out around 493.55 because I was concerned we were holding up really well there. That's why I like to look at the tape as well when I do my scalps, because sometimes things can go very much against you if you're not like looking and kind of monitoring, right? Not that I like to babysit my trades, but if I'm scalping, I feel like, you know, you want to be in and out pretty quickly.
Right.
So that is kind of what I'm looking at there. Also, Warner Brothers Discovery. I have not discovered an entry point for this one yet, but if we sorry. But thank you, Sharif. I like that.
That's Fabian, by the way. I didn't do that. I hit the bang.
Roasted. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, we haven't, obviously we've made like a lower, because I think this is my thing I was saying earlier too, is it's kind of hard to tell with the entry point for this one, because a lower low would be about like 30 cents lower than what we're trading, right? So for a stock like Warner Brothers, that's fairly significant. I would like to kind of see us make a new higher high, so that would be, in terms of the candle close, this 1140 area, because then I think that would be continuously bullish, but definitely not a bad look at all, right? I'm not disliking what's happening here with Warner Brothers.
Patrick's like, the rum is kicking in. No, we've had the eggnog. That was last week, man. There's no more drinking until New Year's.
We got it cracking last week, yeah.
You know, the last time I drank was when I went with the big kahunas to the basketball game. That was like November 13th. I haven't had one sip of alcohol since that time. And I'm going to be drinking this New Year's Eve, I'll tell you that. So,
do you have any New Year's plans?
I do. A buddy of mine is doing like a big house party, and it's all like high school, university buddies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's been a minute since I've seen a lot of these guys, and especially hung out with them in like this way. So I'm kind of excited to see them.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be good times. SGHT woke up since Maxi Jr. All right, baby. We talked about SGHT this morning on the big charts on the side over here. It was one of those ones that was pumping, but kind of, you know, lost its way somewhere there. But it's doing this pattern that I call VWAP hold high of daybreak. A bit of a long-winded name. All it really is it's a big move up in the pre-market or on the bell. It stays elevated relative to VWAP, meaning that it's at VWAP or a little bit above VWAP, and then it does this little dance with VWAP. It goes down to VWAP, maybe breaks it by a smidge, moves back up. Essentially, VWAP hold high of daybreak. And what you're looking for here is for VWAP to hold the majority of the afternoon, say through the less liquid time, the more illiquid time, between 12 and 2, 12 and 2:30, whatever the day, the range is. It's going to differ by the day. Obviously, today's a slower day. And then more into power hour, all of a sudden you see the volume starting to pick up on it again, and it breaks a high day, which in this case is $5.70. So this one is setting up for that particular look. A lot of people call this pattern what I call the VWAP hold high of daybreak. A lot of people call this ABCD pattern, right? Because it moves up, down, then you have the eventual break of the high day on the D part of the pattern. So this is a good look here on SGHT. You know, obviously goes without saying, every single dip touching VWAP on this name on the day has been bought up. So VWAP, a clear level here. It's important. We talked about this a lot. When VWAP is not important, don't use it with the particular instrument in question. In this particular case, it's showing you over and over and over, hey, my name is VWAP and I'm important to SGHT. So I would say to you, keep your eye on VWAP on SGHT. Thank you, Maxi, for pointing that out. I will definitely have my eye on SGHT going into the afternoon for that setup that I was just talking about. Tesla now coming down into that 256 and change. I'm probably going to have to cut this one soon. About 20 pennies out of the money. This one's coming into this trough over here. It makes a lower low. I'm ending this Adair.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting look on Tesla. It has been certainly a hard one to predict. Let me look at Tesla. I had my baby long, which obviously one might argue I got out of a little early. I clearly did, but you know, like
Mullen
I said,
just
I was
popped.
scalping. Apparently Mullen just popped.
Popped huge into 11.
I'll pull up Mullen, yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't have much new to add to the Tesla conversation beyond the fact that I'm always interested in what it's doing. Mullen, oh, okay. Yeah, we did. We definitely did pop. We kind of got, I don't want to say shoulder because it's all like head and shoulders, but we got like a nice little swoop up here. It looks like Mullen's like in these little kind of baby like circles. Like it's these dips, baby dips, like swoop. And then we had this big, nice long dip off of that 9-6 area to the upside. Then we consolidated just a moment longer and flew back up. What's also interesting too, I would say, is the whole idea of support becoming resistance almost kind of came to fruition here with Mullen, because where we kind of had that consolidation and almost bottomed out was more or less that area where the top was earlier, that 1025, which I think is kind of interesting. Mullen, if there's another dip and a move to the upside, I might dip my toe in with a teeny tiny amount of shares because I'm trying to work on, you know, trading different kinds of stocks that are not all part of the Mag 7, you know, trying to diversify. Just a skosh here. Speaking of which, NEO, which I was in briefly earlier and then got out of because we made a new bottom, and I said, nah, not a bad look, except what I find interesting is this area seems to be really key to NEO, this 920 area. We had some consolidation there earlier. We're consolidating yet again. This is earlier kind of an area of resistance that we backed off away from. So yeah, I think this 920 will be key. Ironically, also kind of where we're consolidating earlier and where I ended up taking out my position when we broke below that. But yeah, I like this. I like the idea of what happens around here could be significant. A lot of stocks today seeming to be doing the roundy face. So we'll have to see if that's what we end up doing here on NEO. We are still, of course, up about 950 on the day. Kind of a similar look to Mullen, actually. Let me pull up Mullen again. Oh yeah, like more, Mullen's I think more pronounced, but yeah, similar kind of look here.
Yeah,
Neil saying check Netflix, weird move.
Netflix.
Yeah, or Netflix as Obi says, Netflix. I've traded Netflix in the past. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is an interesting one, Netflix. So it looks like we're kind of making, kind of came here at around 10, this area we touched around pre-market, this 488. Then we went to the upside, so we did make a higher high around this 490.20. Then we dipped back low, sort of compression-y. We did make a higher low, and then we made a lower high. Then we made a massive stair step to the downside. This is the 5-minute chart. So this one lasted from 11:35 to 12:45. Nary a green candle.
Nary.
Now, nary. Then we moved, nary Christmas. But then we moved up at 12:50. We had this really nice green candle here up. Good volume too, actually. This is almost the biggest volume strike. And as we mentioned during one of the previous weeks, or as you were saying, Sharif, when we have a reversion move with like a lot of volume, that's usually pretty significant.
Oh yeah.
And then Netflix reacts by kind of consolidating. So yeah, very much a weird move.
Did the reversion man show up?
I guess, maybe. We have reverted just a scope.
That's Papa Powell.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I didn't know if he had showed up.
No,
Let me look.
he didn't.
No, he didn't. Okay. Sorry, it took me a moment there.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I'm not seeing anything here that is of note. But yeah, this consolidation is interesting. Much like Eli Lilly, Netflix is one that I like trading, but I only get involved in if the volume is near or above 1 million. Right now we're about 750,000, so I would not be getting involved at this point. But yeah, definitely an interesting look on Netflix, so I'm very happy we took a look here. Zoltan mentioning Uber, so let's see if this is an Uber we'd like to step into here. Ooh, this is nice. So Uber is another one that kind of decided to switch it up just to go here. In the pre-market, we were getting kind of marginally lower. Then right after we opened, we had a big swoop to the downside, the 6150 area, which would end up being pivotal because this is where we kind of ducked down again after we hit this 6185. We hung out at around that 61.50, 61.45 for a bit, then we swooped right back up to, you guessed it, 61.85. Now we've completely looked back, made new highs on the day, moving towards the 62.20. Let me look at the daily chart. Oh, never mind, the chart said
Oh, just crashed. Okay, I'll let you set up.
Thank you. That.
What we're, like how many times are we going to talk about this on the futures here? This 17,050, we just broke above it again, but very, very like calmly and subtly, we're making these higher lows. So every trough is just a skosh above the previous one, but I gotta say, we're still kind of sideways when you're looking at the high. So 17,060, that is the high that takes us back all the way to that 1040 candle. But look at this candle that we just put in, 17,058. So just like a point, 2 points. No, a 1.75 above the high because it's it's a 60 and a half. High on the NQ March contract. So the future incrementally making its way higher, but by no means is it very directional and deciding which way it's going. So you're getting these outsized candles like the one that we just put in here, similarly to the one that we put in at 11:45, but you're not getting that momentum continuing to the north side. To be expected, I mean, on a day like this, right? We don't expect a lot of market participants to be taking trades en masse on today. A lot of people on vacation, whether the algos are on vacation or not, a whole different story, but we're keeping an eye on the future as well as this Tesla trade that we're in, which is now back in the money as it breaks above 257, holding the teal, which is, Max would say trusted teal, which is not here today, but this is R1. It's been interesting here because it's had this funny support area at R1 for whatever reason. R1 happens to be 256.75, not a level that I would have been earmarking here for a support level on TSLA. There we go, coming into that $0.25. I've got the first beak wetter at the $0.25, so we'll have to wait and see if we're able to get filled at this level. There it goes, Adara. Back up does Tesla go through 256. 257. And a third, blowing through that third level. Could we be seeing a level at the $0.50 now, up 1.9%? Tesla is like, I got to tell you, to me, it looks like the best of the bunch in terms of Mag 7 names. I probably put NVIDIA second behind TSLA there. NVIDIA up 1.11. Tesla up 1.88. Shout out to all my Asians who love double eights. It's a good number in the Asian culture. There we go, pumping back up into the high 30s is TSLA, but I really want, show me that you're gonna make newer highs. Tesla has been making higher highs incrementally on the day, but it's been taking a long time to get up there, so we're gonna de-risk a little bit while we're up here, Adara, because, well, you just never know what TSLA does from 1 minute to the other, so we'll have to see. There we go, into the 40s now. Can we get 50s? That's going to be the question. Can we wet our beak at the 50s? We're going to go ahead and sit at lucky number 49. It is not lucky. It's just me making up stuff, which is normal around here, right? Yeah. We're going to sit just a smidge below the $0.50 Adara, see if we can get a nice fill around there. TSLA holding that support level at that 256 2/3-ish, give or take a couple of pennies. Now, there's no, huge Tesla catalyst. In fact, it was a kind of a bit of a mixed bag. Some good news with respect to deliveries beating week over week. China deliveries I'm talking about, and then there was some bad news. Well, if you want to call it bad news, it was essentially an over-the-air update for doors that weren't locking for whatever reason. You know how Tesla does. You don't actually have to take your car back into the dealership. There are no dealerships anyway. Well, there are very few dealerships. Rather, they just send an over-the-air update, and it seems to take care of everything. But did you know that Tesla, if you have like a warranty issue, they send a Model X to your house or your work or wherever the car is parked, and that Model X is like the repair car. He's got all the tools and stuff in that bad boy. He has the key to your car. He unlocks the car, right? He goes, does his business, or her, whatever, whoever the repair person is, fixes it. You come home, you find your Tesla good to go. I love that. And you don't have to take it anywhere, right?
That sounds like so like ominous. Like a Model X just pulls up and then when
it does, right? Who needs doors, says Darwin. Joker. Come on, bro. You know exactly what I'm talking about there.
Funny.
Yeah, Tesla looking the most bullish of the names at the moment. We'll see how long that lasts for, guys, because we seem to be very, you know, up and down, a little bit up, a little bit down today. So we're going to pack our patience on this trade, see what we can get. Dawn Cherry. That's hilarious. Dawn, D-A-W-N instead of D-O-N.
Clever.
Dawn Cherry says coin headed back down, Adara.
Yeah, like I will take a look-see here at coin. So just pull it up manually because my chart shut down and did its thing 21. Yeah, I was also, side note, so I was actually in a Model Y yesterday in an Uber, and Model Ys are so fancy. Those Teslas are nice cars, I have to say.
You like them, eh?
Yeah,
that was my favorite
being
Tesla
in
as well,
one,
yeah.
it's like, oh, the model, like you press like the little door handle, and it was like everything kind of did its own thing.
Oh, that's the model. Are you talking about the Model Y or
Oh, yeah,
X?
sorry, the Model Y. I meant Model Y.
The one with the doors that open up to the top?
So that wasn't one of those.
That's the X. Okay,
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the point is they're cool. But yeah, so Coinbase, this is a heck of a flat bottom break. Shout out to Sharif earlier today. Look at this. Lower high, lower high, lower high, flat bottom, then we swooped to the downside with so much force. Now we went from 171, we broke kind of around 171, 50, 175, 20, sorry. Then we went down to 171 even. So this is like about a $4 move to the downside. If this does end up being kind of a bear flag, honestly, I don't see much signs of it. It looks like we're continuing to step to the downside. But if that was a bear flag, that $4 worth of move is massive. Definitely one to look at. Yeah, let's look at the daily. I know Sean was involved in Coinbase earlier. I know Zoltan in the chat also involved in Coinbase. Coinbase still looks gorgeous on the longer term. Like we had a bit of a consolidative bottom here around that 70 area. Cannot believe I'm saying 70 with regards to Coinbase. That was almost 2 months ago. Now we are at 175.
Unreal.
Coinbase's journey is an epic saga out of a storybook. This is a crazy move to the upside with very few interruptions. This is what we call an upward trend, an upward channel, and has Coinbase been enjoying it. I also want to look at Intel for AJ because I love this chat here. Hi, Adara. What are your thoughts on INTC? Upper wedge, what's the Intel?
Patterns I see.
Yes, and puns. So let's, I love both. I love patterns. I love puns. And I was looking at my side chart. I have to say, I am tempted to agree with you, AJ.
Oh, that's a nice flat top.
Because look at that flat top.
Yeah.
We're very much up on the day. This is a continuation pattern. So that's already on lock. Up on the day in a move that will break to the upside. Highs, yeah, the lower highs are, I would say, a little bit less significant, but definitely a flat bottom. And I will say the highs are getting lower and lower. Flat top. So if we break about this $50.30, I think this could be a significant move to the upside indeed. Either way, very little seems to be stopping Intel. That would be my Intel on Intel. Yeah, very much a good look here. Yeah, I like how this one is. Yeah, I can't stop myself. But yeah, so I mean, I like this one up almost 5%. Also, Meta continues to boggle my mind.
Why?
And the reason I say that is because, so we are in a downward trend, but this one also likes to kind of fake you out and make you think it's going to be a little rangy, right? We'll get back up to these key levels and then just have these rejections. Or now we'll get down to these key levels and have rejections. We're still up on the day, but look at this. Now we're kind of seeing continuously these lower highs. I might short this guy if we don't break above this 350, 450, because I've been having my eye on Meta all day, and it still seems to be a decent short, or I can kind of range it. We get down to 350, 420. I see what we're doing. Maybe we'll go back to the upside.
354 just happens to be the pivot point on my chart, by the way.
Really?
I don't know if that makes any difference to you. I just want to mention it, by the way. Yeah, exactly. I know that you can't put it on P-Pro 8. All right, Tesla pumping back up here. Here we go, 257.60s. We just got a print at 61, I believe, on TSLA. We're still not at a newer high. To make a newer high, we're gonna have to break 82s, okay? 257.82, that's what I'm looking at, but we've reclaimed that 257 level for now. Caveat, for now. Tesla can turn on you in a heartbeat. So just be ready, be prepared, have stops, have profit takers. I've got my beak wetter there at Lucky's number 69, because why not? We'll wait to see if it gets filled, but we're doing the dance with no pants here at 257.5. putting in the higher low. So we got the higher low, check. Now, do we have the higher high? No, no check yet. So we'll have to pack our patience on that one. I see people saying they're going to short in the chat. Do you? Whatever you mean. You saw the big kahuna. Sometimes one of them is long, sometimes one of them is short, and they both print on it. So do your thing. Whatever you see on Tesla, do it. I personally wanted to go with the trend. Today it was up 2%. So I said, hey, what the hell? Let's look for a dip trade and get long. So far profitable on the name, but nothing really to write home about. What I'm really looking for is that decided higher high break, and right now I haven't gotten it. So I'm going to have to continue to pack my patience or get out of the trade, one of the two. So right now we're getting the dance here at 60s. I'm not seeing anything on the book to reflect big size to tell me, Sharif, be careful with the size. I'm seeing some decent size here at 60, but it's nothing that Tesla can't blow through in like minutia. You know what I mean? Like it can be like that. Tesla is just a monster. So we'll have to wait and see what we get on TSLA. But the future just absolutely rocketed to the high side here. I didn't even notice that new high a day on the NQ, putting in those higher lows. Oh, baby, we now have a 17,064.5. All at 2 points higher than we were prior, but nonetheless, that is a higher high. So, if you're looking for trend direction, you're getting it. You're getting higher lows, you're getting higher highs. Be pleased. Just make sure to figure out how to profit off it. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. So 17,064.5 right now on the future. I haven't looked at the ES today, sadly. I know Big Kyle Burdett's going to be all over that, but I've been keeping my eyes on the NQ today. Not really much for the ES. Big Nick Dub, another super chat. That's a third of the day. Jeez. Says, Sharif, can you give your thoughts on Redfin and CVX Chevron for long swing on daily and weekly? Absolutely, sir. Let me just pull up these bad boys over here. Let's start with Redfin RDFN. Not something that I know too much about, nor do I trade all that much. Let's see what it's up here today. Let's get all the deets on Redfin RDFN. Pardon me as I load everything up. 3.43% on the day. Year to date, though, Nick, 134% for Redfin. Redfin, guys, by the way, for those who don't know anything about the company, it's a technology-powered real estate company, kind of like the Zillow. Not really, but they help people sell homes. The company operates through 4 segments: real estate services, properties, rentals, and mortgages. Kind of like what Zillow was trying to do before they shut down their acquisitions business. RDFN, I don't know too much about the business, so I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but that $10 is looking awfully interesting. I gotta tell you the truth on the day, but it looks like he's not really interested in on the day. He's looking for that weekly, daily look. So let me just make sure Tesla's okay. Yeah. All right. So the area that we're at right now, this $10, $10.50 top that we put in back on the 14th, this all takes us back to May. We did this whole dance back in May, back in June, where that $11, 10.5 area was essentially the top that we couldn't break through, and then you saw what happened after that. It was a good summer for RDFN, but it topped out when essentially most of these stocks topped out, which was middle of July, and then you had an aggressive sell-off from mid-July to the end of October. It was not October. It came down into that 450. I think we got into 4.25, but that was an intraday print. The actual closing print was more around 4.75. So I want to get above this level, Nick. I want to clear this level in the way that we cleared it over here. This $10.50, $11 area, want to clear. But when you look at the trend that precedes the current price action, you'd have to be pleased as punch, as Adair likes to say. Constant higher lows. Then you have this aggressive move up, kind of forming a little bit of a bull flag over here, which has a bit of a flat top at 10.5. So you got something to aim for with respect to that key resistance level, because it's been touched once, twice, 3, 4, 5, and 6 today at that 10.5 possibly. So keep your eye, well, not today obviously, but Friday we did very close to that 10.5. So look for that 10.5 break, possibly 11. I'd say if you get above that or this $11 range, whichever range you want to use, going back to June, or this flat top over here, more locally in December, gun for that or aim for that, and then possibly, add some more size above that once you break that key resistance level. Let's look at CVX. Tesla doing, oh, Tesla's pumping, baby. I gotta wet my beak over here. There we go. There we go. We got the fill at 69. Lucky number 69 gets filled. Now we're gonna wet our beak a little bit more. Just take a little bit of profits here. Let this one run possibly into higher day, possibly 258 incoming. I mean, we're up 2% now on TSLA, and it's the best of the bunch. I gotta tell you, I'm talking about the Mag 7. So we'll see if Tesla can continue to run. Here come the 80s, baby. We're going to wet our beak on that one. Yeah, we didn't get a good fill there, sadly. Well, whatever. Anyway, let's go back to CVX and have a look at the daily for our man, Nick Dubb. Look at this bottom over here, Nick. This 150 bottom. It's not an exact area, Nick, but generally you have some support at 150, whether it was what we did in March, or again in May, and then possibly again here all the way up into July. We were very close to that 150 bottom. Then we gave up the ghost. We gave up the ghost big in that October month where we tanked off 170 and we started making 140 lows. So I would say we need to get above and stay above 150. That will be the flipping of resistance turned to support. So we're already above 150 now on the day because, you know, oil's up 3%. We're at 152.80. This is an interesting area if that 150 area holds. Possibly bamboozle your way into a trade, maybe with a 150 or a 149 break, giving it about $1 buffer, because it looks like you want to run into at least 170, 172, because that's the resistance that we're seeing over here, right? So if this area of 150 holds, well, what's the top end of the range? The top end of the range is at 170, 172, 173-ish. Let's say 170. So you've got a nice move there. That's a possible $20 gap fill on CVX. Shout out to you, Nick Dubb. I think I like this look, but you know, oil is a bamboozler. I don't have to tell you about oil. Oil can do one thing one day and do something completely different the next. So be careful with oil. It's been a bad little look for oil as of late, but recently, Adara, we've been getting a nice run up. Look at Tesla running to the high side here, baby. Tesla is pumping up. Let's see if we can get into that 258. We're awfully close.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. A bad little look. I like that. But yeah, Meta also, I did not. If I had gotten in, it did get to that 354.20 I was eyeing. Unfortunately, I decided I was not going to go chasing waterfalls, so I wasn't going to try to chase that. It didn't get filled. I said, it's okay, Meta keeps ranging, you'll have another opportunity, one hopes. So I'm gonna stay hands off on that one for right now. Also still looking at Paramount, or sorry, not Paramount, I switched to Warner Brothers Discovery, and I may have discovered a pattern here I like, and that is, look at this sort of pseudo bull flag forming here. We had this gorgeous bull move to the upside. Now we're kind of wedging a little bit. Thank you, Sharif, for the thumbs up and the whatever, this sign.
The okay.
The okay, that's what it is, the
that's
okay.
That's what it's
I did not know it was called that. Thank you. Also, James Dell, stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Yes, I'm not going to sing, but go TLC. But yeah, Warner Brothers does not need any TLC right now. This is a very nice look. I would like to probably get in maybe around this 1138 if we kind of continue compressing around here. We're there right now, but I want to be a bit more patient and kind of get a better sense of where this one goes. But as we know from measuring the breakout using the pool, we have about 1117 to about 1141. So that gives us about 24 cents of breakout to the upside should we get in on this.
Bang.
I would probably, yeah, I have no qualms about getting in on this one. I just want to make sure my entry is timed out a little bit better. So I'm going to be a skosh more patient before entering. Also very rangy right now, at least on my 3-minute side chart, is NVIDIA. Yeah, because we kind of keep hitting this this top of 494 and this sort of bottom around 493.20. I might just get in and out on this range, but like I said, I like to wait for a little bit more patience, a little bit more of a sense of which way we are going, and like especially because ranges, especially with these mega caps, they can kind of, you know, leave in a millisecond, right? These mega caps will do what they want to do, and they will take 0 prisoners. So we're gonna have to wait and see on this one, but I do not dislike the look of NVIDIA. I also would like to shout out our lovely friends at Benzinga. Ooh. So, because we are brought to you by Benzinga Pro, as you may know or may not know.
They know.
And they do know. Shout out to Sharif there. But yes, if you sign up today for 50% off of their premier news and research platform for retail traders, all you have to do is use the code TTV, capital letters. That is TTV, capital letters. For, of course, Trader TV. And yeah, just use the link in the description to go straight to the checkout. And look, there's so many different tips. Oh, look at Eli Lilly's option markets. Maybe I'll have to look at Eli Lilly now. But yeah, so you can type in a ticker. So for example, I typed in Netflix. So sure, and you can kind of see what's going on with Netflix. Oh, like on Monday, I guess they had a downgrade yesterday, Netflix from DZ Bank to hold with a 495 price target. Things you wouldn't know if you couldn't just search them up by ticker.
Yeah.
So many cool things.
Show them the scanner, Adair, because I think they love, probably people will love the scanner because
really
that's how you
cool
find the
feature.
small cap gappers and stuff like that. Is that the scanner right there? Yeah, you got to, oh, you have to put in, you don't have access to this feature. That's a lie.
I thought I did. I thought we saw it.
Oh, you do. You should probably have to set it up.
Got to set it up. But anyways, it's very cool. You can use scanners, news. You can also pull up on one, chart. So I like to do this when I'm doing the morning watch list. I can pull up on one side, I have all of the tickers just pouring in with news, and the other side I have my chart. So I can look at what the SPY is doing. So really helpful feature. It's on the daily right now. Yeah, I enjoy this. Here we are.
So you didn't tell us, what did you do in Winnipeg? I mean, obviously the fam is there and stuff that goes without saying, right? But did you see any friends? Did you go gallivant around Winnipeg?
We did not gallivant too much because, I ran some errands with my dad.
Okay.
You know, shout out to Perry. But yeah, we did not listen to any Taylor Swift, thank God.
Lies.
Actually not, like, he kept roasting me. He's like, you always make it seem like I only listen to Taylor.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, yeah, I actually saw my friend had a baby, so I got to see the new baby.
That's nice.
For the first time. That was very nice. So she came over for Christmas Eve. Yeah, other than that, just family, you know, friends.
What was the weather like?
Much. Weather was very cold the day I left. I was like shivering walking into the airport. I was like...
And so that's normal for this time of year, obviously, right?
Very normal, yeah. We did have a white Christmas. We had the snow kind of happening on Christmas Eve. I left very early Christmas morning, so yeah, nice times, no complaints.
When people say you have a white Christmas, I always tell people we had a brown Christmas because it's super muddy. Right? Like the grass is not green. It's literally muddy. You know, people have been walking on it. It doesn't grow. So it's like, you know, we had a brown Christmas.
Yeah. It was also really smoggy coming into the city yesterday too. So sky, for me at least, the sky was very brown Christmas yesterday.
Not something you typically associate with winter, smog, but that's usually a summer thing. Fog, yeah. Super fog, yeah, exactly.
I worded that poorly.
Yeah, no. It was super foggy yesterday. It was like, yeah, I know. It's in LA, says Neil. Yeah. Shout out to all the LA people.
Thank you for fact checking me, Sean and Neil.
Yeah, all the LA people know exactly what we're talking about, man. You walk in, you just like you can't see more than like 10 kilometers. That's it. No, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see what the chat is up to. The chat is really cheering for the Qs or the NQs in this case. Doesn't really matter. Come back down. So we got some short lovers in the house there. Okay, that's fine. CR Sharif, how much do you weigh? I don't know at the moment. I typically in the summer I weigh between 205 to 210. I'm trying to gain weight right now, so I'm probably around 220. 222, 223, in and around that range. I hope to get to my highest weight ever at 230 by March. That's my goal. And then March comes along, and then we start doing the cut, the clean cut, and hopefully, you know, add about 5 more pounds than you were last summer. That's the goal. That you want to rinse and repeat that every year. Okay, ARBB just kind of gave up the ghost here. Absolutely huadunking through the level of 355. Let's say, look at this huadunk on ARBB. There was a bit of a flat bottom here-ish, you could say. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can get a fuller picture. Yeah, this is the look here on ARB. You had some support at 350, even though it hadn't come into that level exactly, but the general level of 350 was sound, and you've just given that up. A big seller coming in there, taking it from 370 all the way back down to 330. So this one on the way down. Let's bring in the side chart and see what the other small cap gappers that we earmarked today are doing. We were talking about SGHT possibly being a VWAP hold high of daybreak candidate, and it's still maintaining its eligibility for that. Now, when I say VWAP hold high of daybreak, some of you guys know it as the ABCD pattern. So this is what I'm talking about, SGHT. is setting up for that. Look at that big move up, and then every single time it comes into VWAP. Doesn't matter where VWAP is, it's moving up incrementally. It's being bought up. So clearly there is something afoot here with SGHT and VWAP. There's a buyer picking it up at those levels, and it might be interesting to participate in that little trade there. Maybe have a resting order at 520, 5.25, somewhere in around there, but SGHT holding up in exactly the same way that SGHT is holding up, in exactly the same way that ARBB was and now isn't. So it was kind of doing the dance here with VWAP, right? It was above it, setting up for that VWAP hold high at daybreak, holding above 350, and then comes in the seller, tanks this one back down to 3.25, 3.33. So this one, unless it reclaims that 350 and VWAP awfully quickly, it probably will sell off and possibly come down into that 250. So this is going to be the top end of the morning range. This is the pre-market range. And if you were looking at some support, you might be looking at that 250 area because that was resistance earlier. We know how resistance flips into support. So be careful. Any longs on ARB at the moment? Yeah, no, it's just like, I don't know why I'm doing that, but that's fine. Tesla coming right back down into that 257.5. So knocked on the door at 258. We almost got filled on our beak wetter up there, but it looks like we're just a penny or so off. Tesla now coming back down into that 254.33, 254.5. We'll have to see if it continues to come back down. We're long 96 is 256.96. So a bit of a buffer from the current price action and our long, but definitely don't want to give this to all the way back. Big Nick Dub saying mRNA flat top break watch. You want to have a look at Moderna?
Yeah, I will take a look at Moderna. So just have to put everything in. Oh, it was an NQ name. Look at that. Sorry,
looks like Zoltan's printing on his coin shorts as well.
Nice. So flat top break watch for Moderna. Ooh.
Huh.
Ooh.
I look how excited you got.
Really
and her
good
hand
look.
came up to her mouth and everything. She was like, shocked.
Yeah, my shock things are this or when I literally get up in my chair and like, because this is like wild. Yeah, Nick W, I have to say.
Big Nick Dub.
Really nice look. Sort of almost kind of a flat channel as well. I would be wary of kind of compression. And the reason I say that is because we did have a slightly higher low. That doesn't mean that much. I would say in context here, it does look more flat topish, especially because we are up on the day, as we know, or sort of double top or flat top usually. At times, kind of, I feel like this one could go either way. I think the fact that we have this slightly lower high, this one could move to the upside. It could be a flat top break up, or it could just kind of continue to be a flat channel. I would kind of, at least for myself, again, not advice, I would like to kind of see what we do. Should we go kind of down to this 96 area? Because that would be either, depending, we'll either make a higher low, in which case it could be a flat top break, or we'll kind of meet that low, in which case it could be flat channeling or compressing, or we'll make a lower low, in which case, who knows what Moderna is doing. My take on this would be that I would like to see how we kind of form in this channel, because we do have this flat top, but we also have this kind of flatterish bottom area that I think we should keep a little eye on.
It's a channel, eh?
That is, yeah, that
Jeez.
is. That is very much a channel. So I was saying, like, that's why I think it kind of muddies the waters or muddies the snow, just to go sheer, because we do have this flat top, but we also have this bottom that's kind of doing its own thing. 21.
Interesting.
Also, I have a toe waiting to be dipped in the water here on Warner Brothers, and by that I mean I'm waiting to see if my order gets filled. Like I said,
I have a
do
question.
really yes.
So what's that big lake in Manitoba called? Is it the Red River?
The Red River. The Red River.
It's not a lake, sorry.
It's a river, yeah.
River, yeah. Is that swimmable?
I know it is boatable because I know they have we have this festival every year, the Dragon Boat Festival, and everybody goes in boats in there in the Red River.
It's not swimmable.
I don't know if it's swimmable.
So you've never swam in it, in
I've
other
never
words.
swum, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, because
Lots
Ottawa
of boats,
people
though.
swim all over their rivers. That's why I was like, they think it's a beach.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's kind of sketchy around there, though. I don't know if I'd really want to be doing anything in the Red River, and swimming wise. Maybe I know we skate on the Red River. I'll tell you, we do skate on the Red River.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there's probably some ice fishing.
Yeah, I think also it's kind of less warm too. You know what I mean? So I think the Red River, it's also right at the heart of this big tourist attraction called the Forks, because it's where the two rivers fork. That's why they call it that. Very clever of us.
Very interesting.
Very punish. But yeah, so that's kind of where we have the Forks, and the Red River is kind of right there. So there's a lot of, I guess, tourist stuff going on. Yeah.
Now, do you have an issue with flooding?
There is flooding with the Red River.
Yeah, I remember we always would get like news on that. The Red River's flooding. People in Manitoba are running for their lives.
Yeah, our house had flooded before too.
Oh, I'm
as
really
well.
sorry.
We're
I
not
didn't
even
mean to
that
make
super
fun of
close.
that.
No, it's okay.
obviously.
I mean, it is. It wasn't like massive or anything. It was just like, you know, put the
shut
pedals
up
down.
now.
It's okay.
I'll stop talking now.
It's okay. It's okay. It was nothing massive at all. It was just, you know, sometimes it gets a little cray up in there. But yeah, Red River.
Fabi is trolling me hard back there.
But yeah,
I love
no, it's definitely, it's kind of beautiful around there. It's just a very busy area. But yeah, lots of skating.
That's pretty cool. I just want to know. I think everybody kind of wants to know a little bit about, you know, where you're from, what you're up to, and you were, you know, gallivanting on the weekend, even though you claim not to have gallivanted.
I like that you think I've like lied about gallivanting.
I don't know why I'm putting pressure on you. It's just I'm waiting for Tesla to move back up, and I'm killing time.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to get into Warner Brothers, so time to be killed all around here with the trades, I suppose.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Tesla just did a big move down a day into 257.20, and as quickly as we move down on TSLA, as quickly as we found our footing to move back up. So if this trough over here holds and we don't make a print below that, that will be another higher low. It's better viewed on the 5 minutes so you can see the plethora of higher lows that we've had on the day. I mean, it's a good look for TSLA, right? Incrementally higher low, higher low, higher low, and you're getting the higher high. So it's not like you're getting a flat top like you were showing on the chart that you just displayed there. No, you're incrementally getting those higher highs. So the move is there, and we're awfully close again to high a day. I don't have as much sharage as I had earlier. I got to tell you, this was probably a mistake not to reload, but that's why I'm a bad trader. And, you know, the better trader definitely would have taken this opportunity at the touch of the 20 period to reload the boat. And they would have already been in like 50 pennies in the money on that one trade alone. So Tesla continuing to do its thing. 21, shout out to Adara. On the day, whether or not we get that continuity into the afternoon, a whole different story, but we'll have to break through that 258 earlier because we did wake up right into 258. In fact, high a day, 257.97 on Tesla. We're 17 pennies away from that again as we move back into that high on TSLA. The future, it's doing the same dang thing. 17.050. It's been stuck plus or minus that range by 10 points essentially since the morning. So the future for me has been a tougher trade, but I felt Tesla was the one that was more directionally bound, being that it's up over 2%, whereas the other names are either in the red or just, you know, up, like, for example, Meta, 0.08% to the high side. Even Netflix, Neil was calling that out. It had a nice move earlier, 0.38. Everything else, and basically the same thing, but on the red side. Amazon 0.23 in the red. Google and Google, both 0.08 and 0.14. AAPL, 0.29 to the red side. Microsoft, 1/5 of a point to the red side. So Tesla's really the only Mag 7 name that has had a nice direction, even though we're getting another little pullback now into the 60s, but trying to hold on, see kind of what we get there. All right, Apple setting up for tomorrow, says Trader Forever. I'll be good with that. You guys know I'm invested long-term into AAPL. Well, not long-term, for a swing. So obviously, if Apple can move to the high side, I will be pleased, very, very pleased. Good point out here by Tilran W. Meta, bottom of day, yes, sir.
Yes.
It did touch that 353.40-ish area, which is Friday's close on META. So possible support here at Friday's close. This white line over here, that is a Friday close. I know that there's all these lines now on my chart, so it may be hard to see, but this is what I'm talking about over here. This line, 353.45, technically the low of day. I don't know. I don't have the guts to pull the trigger right here because it's just been one monster move to the downside here on Meta. So I don't know if the buyers are going to be stepping up at this level. We'll have to wait and see. Let's wait for a bounce. Curling, getting it on the backside, as Neil likes to call it. Once it creates a bottom, then starts showing you a few green candles in the opposite direction, you can kind of theorize or hypothesize that, you know, this one will start curling back up, and then you get it on the backside, maybe into a move into 355 VWAP area, possibly. I mean, it's a tougher trade because it's just been so one direction on the day, which is down on META. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there. Don't be hard on yourself, says Patrick. Oh, dude, I'm my own biggest critic, that's for damn sure. Charlie Taff, are you willing to share your Apple swing trade, where you got in, where your target is? Well, I gotta tell you the truth. I got in at the 180s initially, and then it moved into the 160s, and I bought it in the 170s. I bought it in the 160s, and I have a low cost base in the 170s. So I'm printing nicely on it, but it's not the end of the trade, and I could be out of the money as quickly as I'm in the money. So until I hit that sell button and I reap the rewards of the trade, it's just in theory. So I'm not patting myself on the back or anything like that, but we'll have to wait and see. Well, yeah, Chilean Nightmare on the ones and twos, baby. We'll have to wait and see what Apple does, but obviously we have a short-term headwind with respect to these, the prohibition of the sale of the watches because of the blood oxygen feature. I don't know. I think this is going to be a free market fix, and by that I mean I think it's going to be two people coming together and figuring out. By two people I'm talking about Apple and Massimo. Maybe with an arbitrator of sorts or a mediator, but they're going to fix this. It's going to be a money solution. I don't think you're going to shelve I don't know how many watches that they've made for sale in the United States. There's probably a lot that they're going to have to throw out, so to speak, or sell in different markets. I shouldn't say that. I think this gets fixed. When, under what terms, we'll have to wait and see. But if you hear what the Massimo guy has to say, he doesn't have good things to say about Apple. According to him, the CEO guy of Massimo, he was like, I extended my hand to Apple multiple times to get a fix for this done. They're the ones that, rebuffed my advances. They actually came to me to acquire me, and then they ended up poaching all my employees, which, he used against them as bad faith in the litigation. So many, angles to look at this, but Apple's just too big of a company, and they've invested too much money in these dang watches for them to be able to say, well, we're going to have to forego an entire generation of Apple Watches, and we'll reset again in the fall with the Apple Watch 10 and the Ultra Watch 3, the Apple Ultra 3. I just don't think that's the case. I think this gets resolved, just not exactly sure how. So we'll have to wait and see how that does. Trader Forever says, wow, completely missed the trade on snow today. Were you, did you have eyes on snow?
I did not have eyes on snow. It looks like snow fell without us noticing or without me. Maybe it went to the upside. I was trying to make a silly little joke there. Let's see how snow is shaken up. Oh, snow is a nice look to the upside here. Whoo! This is wild. This is beautiful. This is just gorgeous. We had sort of a downward trend earlier in the pre-market, sort of into the start of the day. Then what we had was a bit of a compression movement, a slightly lower high here, or sorry, higher low after having these lower lows. And then we had a massive swoop to the upside that lasted from 11:15 to 1:15. This is a 2-hour long movement to the upside. Anybody in this long, congratulations, félicitations to you. 194.60 to 198.60. This is a $4 movement to the upside.
Dang.
Sorry for the claps, it's just very exciting. I like this one. We look like we're kind of compressing here. Could this be sort of a bull flag? If so, you have a $4 flagpole to work with. Not a bad look at all, I have to say. Speaking of things that were kind of shaking up to be bull flags and then broke out, Warner Brothers did discover what looks like a new high of day without me, unfortunately. I never got filled at the 11:38, which I really wanted. I waited patiently. I didn't want to chase it. I didn't chase it, and it did not discover me, unfortunately.
Do you know that song, Informer?
By who? I don't know it.
How Informa? By Snow. That's why
okay.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
I might
that
know
whole
it,
thing.
but not know the name.
Yeah, because you're usually good with older songs. So
Sometimes I don't know the titles, yeah.
Darwin said it, and then Neil responded to him in the chat, and that just made me laugh, man. I had to interrupt you for that. You got to listen to it after.
I'll
it was
listen to it
like, it's basically, it's very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right. Apple is absolutely tanking, Adara, on AAPL, breaking through 193. Apple, an aggressive move down here. Look at this 5-minute candle breaking through bottoms. We were talking about this flat bottom here at 193, 192.90 in play earlier on. It's made now a newer low. Multiple rejections, 3 to be exact, off VWAP on attempts to make higher highs. All of them flipped back to the downside. So Apple decidedly down on the day, 1/3%, and that's not that bad, really. I thought I was going to say a lot worse than that. You know, to be honest with you, I was thinking short Apple from the get-go. Sad I didn't take this trade, but it was opened up below the green dotted line, which on my chart is a pivot point. If you've been watching our lessons on technical analysis, we were talking about pivot points with equities, and last week we talked about them on futures. The look here should be a bias to the downside if the opening print is set that pivot point. Not a hard and fast rule, but one to keep your eye on and use it to kind of gauge the overall market, to gauge your overall analysis of the particular instrument you're looking at. So Apple, big move down. Tesla, not the same thing. Tesla still headed to the high side, still holding that higher low area at 257.54. I'm probably going to have to end this trade, Derek, because I got to go up to the big desk and start setting up. And so on that note, I'm going to send it to you.
Fabulous. Yes. Also, shout out to Hold My Beer in the chat. Red apple, I prefer green apples. Yeah, definitely red apple today. Looking a bit more like a Red Delicious or perhaps a Gala than maybe a Granny Smith. Shout out to Fabian mentioning Granny Smith apples earlier today. Just remembered that. But yeah, this is definitely, I have Apple up right now. We did break that lower low. Just keeping an eye on it there. Also, Meta, with regards to Shreve mentioning that pivot point on Meta being around 354. Look what we're bouncing up back towards 354. Heck of a double bottom on Meta. We got to this, we kind of opened swooping up above this 930. Oh, sorry, swooping up to this 353.60 at 930. Hit 350, almost 357. Then went back to 353.60. So this is definitely an interesting point. If we make a higher high, this could be a long. I just keep missing the mark on Meta. Meta keeps swiping without me, keeps scrolling down through the feed without me being included, unfortunately. Yeah, this is a really good look. Shout out to Ann Mola from India. Thank you very much for being here. But yeah, I do kind of enjoy the look of Meta. I just, you know, I'm not going to go chasing waterfalls here, as I said. If I can't get into it, I can't get into it. Also, there was someone earlier in the chat mentioning Tupperware. So let's look at Tupperware, because this is definitely a gorgeous look. We kind of had sort of a very steep upward trend in this one, then yet another upward trend that kind of formed when we broke off. I was mentioning the levels in this one earlier. I said earlier, I find this 236 really interesting, because look, this is where we kind of broke out of that trend earlier. Then we were kind of chopping around this area with it kind of as the middle point for the range, and look where we broke back out, 236. Like, what a look. Then we sort of had the double top of that 245, 246 area, consolidated just a bit, then went right back to the upside, hit that 261, which is the high of day as of right now, pulled right back. Now we're looking to make another move to that 260. So let's see what we do here. Not a bad look for Tupperware at all, and there is a catalyst. So late on Friday, Tupperware filed an amendment with the SEC that extended the deadline for the delivery of 2 quarterly financial reports, as well as the company's turnaround plan to February 2nd. Shout out to Benzinga for that lovely short of information. I do like the look of Tupperware. I'm going to get rid of this trend line I drew because I'm very bad at drawing trend lines. But yeah, Tupperware in that 236. I don't think I looked at the daily at this one earlier. So let me do that. Maybe I did and I don't remember. Oh no, okay, I would have remembered this. This is up 25% on the day. Next kind of area of interest is this 285, 286. That was also where we kind of started to break to the downside earlier as well. So will it be a triple top? Will we make a move to the upside? We're definitely seeing a lot of consolidation throughout October into November. Was slightly, a little compressed. We were seeing slightly lower highs and higher lows. Now Tupperware said, nah, we're breaking to the upside. This is significant. I really like the look of this. Also, some people mentioning NEO in the chat. I was in NEO very briefly earlier, and then I said adios to NEO because we were just kind of wasn't really super loving the look of it, I have to say. A little bit, we made a lower low and I got out. But unfortunately, it looks like we went even higher. I do like this one. I have to say this 925 kind of an area of interest, that 920, that 915, 920 especially, because we had this crazy consolidation. I feel like this area kept coming into a point of interest, kept being significant here. So I think, yeah, this is an interesting look on NEO. I'd like to see if we make that higher high of that breaking above this 933-ish. Let's look at the daily chart. I feel like lately I've been looking more into the daily and the wider time frames because I think it really helps for levels, especially a day like NEO where you're really close to the high of day. Maybe where can we go from here? Where have we gone in the past, right? I feel like looking at these wider time frames has been really helpful with charting. This bottom of around 715 on NEO, wild. We had this area here, kind of came, this was around June 2023, came back to this bottom, starting around November 1st, 2023. Not really a November to remember, shout out to Sharif, for our friend NEO. Not much of a November to remember here. Pretty flat. Now kind of starting mid-December, we started breaking to the upside. Now it looks like we're trying to make an upward channel. We did break above this this 915 area, so that could be of interest. Next frontier, I think, for NEO is breaking that 1078, because that was where we kind of started to slump to the downside before that big swoop lower. So I think this shall be an interesting look. I do not dislike NEO at all whatsoever. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery continuing to kind of trek to the upside. Still very sad. I missed that one. But yeah, like higher highs. I don't trade in the afternoon, so this was the opportunity I would have had, and I have indeed missed it. It did discover higher highs without me, but yeah, c'est la vie, it is what it is. Also, Google, an interesting one. We're kind of close to breaking lower here. Are we good to go? Yes, we are. Fabulous. Okay. Well, it's been a great time chatting with you all. It was great to hear Sharif and Alfred, but now we'll be back to Sharif at the big desk, but we will see you all tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Sharif at the big desk.
Thanks for that, Adara. Guys, welcome to the closing show. Futures are in positive territory, whether we're looking at the ES or the NQ. The NQ up